motivated when the season has been so dismal?
It's the NFL, man. It's games every week, It's people looking at you, evaluating you every week. So it's not even about playing for yourself, it's playing for your teammates, playing for yourself, yes, playing for pride, playing for the last name on your back, playing for your family.
Winding down the season, and we're winding up to talk about it. This is Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Tobin, Solana, Omar Kelly, and Chris Perkins on FM 104.3 WQAM. Miami's sports leader.
Game Day Uncensored on FM 104.3 WQAM is brought to you by the Lexus TX. Room for all your passions in 3 rows of luxurious comfort. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. By Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. When it comes to scoring a rugged new truck, Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is the MVP of selection. Visit EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and start shopping today. Remember, you're always backed by Morse. And by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business. A 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road, Margate.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome on in to Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM. Brendan Tobin alongside Alejandro Solana as we're here for the next 4 hours getting you ready for Dolphins football as your Miami Dolphins are taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, looking to play a little thing we like to call spoiler to their compadres from the Sunshine State. That's the juice that we got here. Solana, how are you, man?
I'm good. Is this a rivalry, Tobin?
No,
right? Yeah, I didn't think so.
I don't think so. Preseason rivalry.
Right. I mean that's as far as it goes, though. This isn't like I don't think anybody is sitting here today saying we have to keep the Bucs out of the playoffs. I mean, you want to play spoiler, sure, but
no. I mean, the only South Florida Tampa rivalry there is Panthers Lightning, which again just turned into WWE yesterday on the ice. It's just, I mean, those two teams, they hate each other's guts, and it's not hockey. It's just every time there's goons that are called up from the minors from Tampa, and it's just fights. It's fights, and it's honestly at this point, it really should be Paul Maurice and Pooper just dropping the suits and getting after it.
That's what I want to see next. Drop the ties, meet at center ice, and duke it out. I'm doing good, by the way, Tobin. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, you and your family. I saw some pictures of you guys.
Thanks,
adorable as always. And I'm looking forward to 1 p.m. today. We only got 2 of these left. So
I know.
I'm trying to take advantage of my football Sundays. Let the wifey leave me alone for a couple hours for a couple more Sundays.
Yeah, I I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at all these games that have a little bit of juice left to them, and this scenario, and you got to win this to stay alive. And the Dolphins are like, nah, we packed that up a couple of weeks ago, dude. We're just here. We're just giving some young players little looky-loos, and that's what we got going on here. By the way, good morning, Dan Day. How are you on this lovely Sunday? Are you excited for some Fins football?
Of course, always excited for the Dolphins football, and also I hate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so it kind of adds a little extra juice for me.
True. You got those New Orleans Saints division hate from the NFC South, and this one does have still a little bit of juice to it because they're trying to keep pace with the Carolina Panthers of all teams.
The Carolina Panthers. How about that, Tobin? In the year 2025, almost 2026, Bryce Young might win a division.
Yep. Weirdest division in all of the sport. I mean, you can never get a hold on the NFC South. It's always drunk, and it seemed early on like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to be one of those little darlings to start the season, and instead they've fallen on hard times. Them and the Colts are basically the teams that came out of the season like jackrabbits, and they've petered out. The Colts yesterday eliminated after the Texans beat the LA Chargers, and so the Bucs are going to try and not follow suit and try and keep their hopes alive. And it appears like we got we have a thing in the AFC North today where if the Ravens can somehow hope and pray that the Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They'll have a game for the division next week. The Dolphins, we're just getting some looky-loos at Quinn Ewers, baby. Like we did last week. He made his debut against the Cincinnati Bengals in what was going good until it wasn't.
Man, that third quarter, Tobin, there's a lot of issues in the third quarter. I know we'll get to it, but that third quarter was just, I mean, it was one mistake after another, and it unraveled so damn quickly. We were like, oh yeah, Joe Burrow's still really good, and the Bengals are still really good. You're not out dueling Joe Burrow with Quinn Ewers.
Nope.
Like you're just not.
Nope, you're not, and especially Quinn Ewers to Theo Weiss. Like that was the plan. It's like, you know what? I got an idea. Let's just we already have one late rookie. Let's throw him with an undrafted rookie. Let's see if this duo can keep up with all of the weapons that the Cincinnati Bengals. And the answer to that was a resounding no. No, they could not. No, they could not.
Nope.
That wasn't going to happen. But it's okay. We live to fight another week. In those who are looking at Quinn Ewers as the future franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, he gets another chance to give a crack at that today against this Buccaneers team. And hopefully he can just have some consistency. I don't really know what the hell is going on with these third quarters. It's really depressing, Solana. Like you come out of halftime and the numbers that Mike McDaniel has are just mind-boggling when you look at his resume, when you look at his record trailing at halftime. And you're just wondering to yourself, like, is this a guy that can only just scheme up, need a week to kind of scheme up a plan for a quarter, and then that's it? He doesn't have anything else after that. Once teams adjust, he doesn't think of a plan B. He doesn't have any counterpoint. I don't understand this from him. It's so infuriating.
Hey, Tobin, what's your opinion though? Like your philosophy in terms of the halftime adjustments? And I only ask this because I know one of the biggest cliches in sports. You do a halftime show or you're watching a game, you're listening to commentators, analysts, former players talk about what's going to happen at halftime. Well, teams will adjust. There's going to be adjustments. And then, I hear Peyton Manning on the Manning Cast a couple of years ago talk about this, and he said, the most overrated thing that anybody talks about is the halftime adjustments. He said, I never walked into the halftime locker room and had a coach come in and redraw a scheme or redraw up the entire game plan. Like we went in, we had a protein bar, we hydrated, and then we went out and then we got the play calls in our score sheet or in our helmets. So he kind of downplayed this idea of halftime adjustment. I'm not excusing Mike McDaniel's third quarters here. I'm just asking you if, from your standpoint, if you really buy into this idea that at halftime, coaches go in there and like alter things and change things up and do this and do that. I mean, I don't know if that's just something that we all think happens, contrary to what actually is going on in the halftime locker room.
You can't take it from Peyton Manning. First of all, the guy basically did whatever he wanted on the field. Like he was adjusting stuff all the time from play to play. So he's a terrible person to get this from on that. Basically, any offensive coordinator he had was just listening to Adam Gase got a head coaching job just sitting next to Peyton Manning. He's a terrible example on this. This guy, Mike McDaniel, it's like, no, I think there is something to, they're doing this to us or they're going to take this. First of all, Mike McDaniel's entire essence has either been it feels like he's always trying to like outstep adjustments and go away with what's working, or he has no answers once something is figured out. Like that. Tell me that that's not just the existence of his coaching as it is.
That's 100%. And he also still can't draw up a play to get a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, which is just absolutely maddening. No, but look, and I wasn't referencing Peyton Manning because I believe in him. I was just wondering, like, if you give that any credence. But I'm with you. Peyton Manning was doing whatever he wanted. It's absolutely unreal that the Dolphins come out in third quarters And it's not that they're just getting outscored. One thing is you're getting outscored. It's that you don't look like you belong on the field with teams in the third quarter. You have Mike McDaniel not being able to figure out a way to keep his team in games. And I don't understand how anybody can look at that and still continue to advocate to bring back Mike McDaniel next season. You know, I mean, you've gotten to the point where you fired the general manager. You've gotten to the point where the organization is seemingly told you that they're moving on from the franchise quarterback. And there appears to be this thought process of, hey, we've got the right head coach still in place, despite the fact that you're in year 4 and you look at a situation where you're coming out of halftime and he can't make the type of changes necessary to avoid getting outscored by 100 over the length of a season at halftime. It genuinely, to me, sums up Mike McDaniel's inability to make adjustments, period. Going back to, remember last year, Tua was out for 4 weeks with that concussion after the Pittsburgh game, and he has a couple different starting quarterbacks, and he can't dumb down the offense a little bit to just make it manageable.
Yeah, like if you watched last night and you saw like Malik Willis ball out, which by the way he always does every time he steps in, like Matthew LaFleur able to keep things going. We see this at least a few times over the season where you're like, oh, that coach did a good job of working around his quarterback. So we haven't seen that with Mike McDaniel. We see terrible adjustments. We didn't have great locker room management. His star players walked all over him. And also listening to his press conference is borderline torture. So all of those, I'm just wondering like why the Dolphins, first of all, it's weird. And we'll get into some of like the national narratives that have and reports that have walked back, which was absolutely hilarious after that ass kicking. I love how this just changes with the breeze is because it's either like people are guessing or the people they're hearing from literally just keep changing their mind. But I'm just wondering with him, what do you think you're losing? Like when the Titans fired Mike Vrabel had been to conference championships. He was pretty much reigning over a division, not a great division, but was reigning over a division. You know, like there seemed to be something established there. You got results. Yes, he was weird because he said he would cut off his deal for a Super Bowl, but that's okay. He just really loves football. And I'm just trying to say, like, do I really feel like if the Dolphins let this guy go, that he would turn any program around right away? And I just can't say that. I just can't say that with him.
We knew when Mike Vrabel got let go by Tennessee, there would be a long list of teams who had coaching vacancies ready to hire the guy.
Yeah.
And he took the year off. If Mike McDaniel were let go January 4th or 5th, is there a long list of teams ready to hire him as a head coach? I'm not saying there wouldn't be another team that would give him a shot. I mean, oh my God, Adam Gase got hired by another team after the Dolphins fired him. So that tells you everything you need to know about this league.
But it was the Jets, and he wasn't the first choice.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But if that happened, Tobin, then it's possible Mike McDaniel gets another opportunity. I just don't think he's a highly sought-after coaching candidate once the carousel opens up at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that it's going to go to, there'll be a bevy of teams that want to sign him as a coordinator.
For sure.
Then he'll get his refurbished shot somewhere else, like after a couple of years, if he can light the world on fire. But we'll see.
But Tobin, you know, and I hate to do the thing where we're saying, hey, the head coach doesn't deserve to be here anymore. Like, I hate firing the guy. I genuinely do. But man, just look at the situation you're in. You have to look at it rationally from the standpoint of you're in year 4, and we're talking about the same mistakes weekly with this team, procedural penalties that don't seem to get better. The team half the time, and I realize with a young rookie quarterback, this is going to happen, but the team half the time still doesn't know where they need to be lined up. At times in the first quarter of a football game, he still doesn't know when to throw the challenge flag. Like there's just a lot of reoccurring issues with this team that you would think, okay, a rookie head coach would get that shored up late in the season. It doesn't happen. Second-year head coach would have that problem solved. Didn't happen. And now you're in year 4. Your team has progressively gotten worse the starting quarterback you were supposed to turn his career around, which you did, has progressively gotten worse. And I don't know. It didn't look like he was necessarily, the best coach in the NFL with the smartest play design in the NFL with a different quarterback the other day in Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I don't feel bad talking about him losing his job. I feel like he's gotten every resource and option at his disposal. Like, I would feel bad for certain guys who didn't get that, or didn't feel like they got a fair shake. I feel like he's gotten every fair shake in the book. His teams have gotten worse, and he's a nice man. That's great. You know who they used to do this with all the time? They used to do this with Don Mattingly when he was the Marlins manager. He just kept hanging around, and we're just like, but come on, baby. And at least with that, I was like, yeah, but Don Mattingly has no players. Like, nobody, they don't pay for anybody. He got like a couple of years where they paid for somebody. But they were always like, yeah, but Donnie's such a great guy. And then what do they do? They get rid of him, Skip Schumacher, playoffs first year. It's you I don't understand this idea that, just because he's I'm sure he is an awesome dude. He seems like an A+ guy. He seems like he genuinely cares. That's great, dude. But what are we here for? What do we're here to play nice. I don't think that's what this is for. And there's just so many flaws. We did this last week. We're just like, hey, what are the pros? What are the cons? The cons list was much, much longer. And yeah, I'm sorry that it's kind of gotten down to this is what we're talking about with this team, but it's kind of like the last piece of the puzzle because GM's gone. They're going to move on from Tua. This is the last standing guy of the regime. And it had seemed like everybody was doing the old college try of keeping him around. And I just don't know what for. I don't know what you feel like you're losing if he's walking out the door.
Well, I mean, you just don't know who's going to replace him. And I think that's what the fan base is, or part of the fan base is worried about, Tobin. And you can't downplay that. Look, again,
Why? I mean, like, literally, who was he? This guy literally was nobody but a meme on the internet.
Yeah, but who are you replacing him with? At the very least,
just go find him. Let's find the next funny guy that makes a funny press conference. You literally can find Mike McDaniel anywhere.
But that's exactly what you can't do. If you're moving on from him, you're moving on for the next head coach that hopefully is going to help your franchise get to the place that it hasn't been since I was 4 years old. Tobin, for the love of God, you can't just move on from him unless you feel like, hey, there's another direction, a clear direction we want to move on from. And guess what? Don't give me the other funny guy. Forget hiring the stupid funny guy. We had the crazy eyes guy with Adam Gase. Yep. Then we had Brian Flores, who literally talked into the mic like this. And then you went out and you got the stupid funny guy.
Yeah.
The very wise funny guy. No, go get the established guy. Go get me the guy who's won games in the NFL before. Stop going after the coordinator who has zero success on the sideline as an NFL head coach, because if my memory serves correct, Tony Sperano, Philbin, Gase, Flores, McDaniel, there's a track record there. These coordinators stink as head coaches. Go find me the established head coach who moved on or was fired from a different from a different NFL team. I'm done with the coordinators. I'm done.
You're going to get Mike McCarthy, and you're going to be so underwhelmed by it. We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. Lots to get to. Chris Perkins going to join the show as he does every single week. Omar Kelly going to join the show as he does every single week. And we will guide you along here. We'll get more into that embarrassment that was last week. There was Pro Bowl snubbery this week. So there are some other topics to get into along the way. Game Day Uncensored brought to you by Edmore Sawgrass Automobile Shop. Massive savings on massive Chevy inventory, all backed by Morse at Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Visit EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com. Chevy, find new roads. We're back with more on Game Day Uncensored after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the Ed
For more Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored coming your way here on FM 104.3 WQAM. We're streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, the channel 104.3 WQAM on YouTube, Miami 104.3 WQAM on Twitch, as we're getting you set for Dolphins and Buccaneers, as the Dolphins will look to bounce back from a really just embarrassing loss last week at home to the Cincinnati Bengals. Gameday, when do you have post game today? What is your schedule coming up here on this lovely Sunday?
Most likely 4 o'clock whenever the game ends till 7:30. Unless something absolutely crazy happens, then I'll stay on as long as I feel is necessary.
There you go. All right.
But nothing crazy is going to happen. Nothing crazy.
Well, we don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe somebody gets kidnapped. I don't know. You can't say for sure. But there you go. Dan will be coming your way today, 4 o'clock here on QAM. You guys can get your calls in there. Dolphins lose last week to the Bengals 45-21. Just an outrageous turn of events. A game was going well. I mean, we were sitting here, we're excited for the Quinn Ewers. Well, excited is a stretch, but we were intrigued by the Quinn Ewers NFL debut. And I thought first half, Solana, not too terrible. Yeah. He was doing his thing. I mean, obviously got buoyed by a great Devon. We don't deserve Devon Achane. Let's just be clear about that. We don't deserve this season from him. He's amazing. He starts off just roadrunner style, blowing past everybody, and gets the Dolphins into this great start. But yeah, I mean, Mike McDaniel was kind of in his bag. The whole thing was schemed up and scripted up that in a great way to start this game. And then it all just went to hell. It went to hell basically on a Theo Weiss offensive pass interference call, which was kind of garbage.
It was garbage. He was trying to get out of the way. He's trying to get out of the way. I mean, I don't know what the hell the officials. That was one of those things where like they're throwing a flag when there was just no need to throw a flag. They saw contact. They're like, oh, that must have been a pick. And well, no, I mean, he was clearly trying to get out of the way.
Yeah, well, he had a tough day, poor Theo Weiss.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Tobin. I could do the rest of my life without watching Theo Weiss in a Dolphins jersey.
You done with the weasel?
I feel bad saying that because that was one game, literally his first game. But man, I could do the rest of my life without Theo Weiss in a Dolphins jersey ever again.
It's interesting how you feel bad for Mike McDaniel taking his job, but you'll take Theo Weiss's NFL career like that.
Very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. I was done after the interception. I was just done.
The interception was rough. It was they were trying to find one of those patented Mike McDaniel across the middle timing routes, but it's not Tua and Jalen Waddle this time. It's Quinn Ewers to Theo Weiss, and he basically got chased down. It bobbled up in the air. It was a nice play by the DB as well, but it ends in disaster because he gets picked off. And then, I mean, he also had Greg Dulcich get the fumbles. This is another thing that I don't understand. We talk about adjustments all the time, right? But this has been a theme this year, and I don't really understand it because I don't feel like there should be an adjustment for a 6'7" tight end. Why does Darren Waller only have 4 plays in him a game? Crazy. Because he'll do things where he these don't look like they're schemed up. He'll literally just yoink a football off of somebody's head because he's enormous. And then he just disappears. This has happened, I think, 4 to 5 times this year, Solana, where he kills it for the first half, and then we never hear from him again. And I don't know what's going on there. Like, he's just forgotten, and and not that Greg Dulcich hasn't been nice. He's been nice, but he had the terrible turnover, and I'm just like, what? Why does that happen with Darren Waller, where we just forget about him?
But even before the injury, the second injury that held him out a couple weeks, remember, opens the season against the New York Jets at home, and he had 3 receptions. 2 of them were touchdowns. And then the following week, 5 targets, 5 receptions. I think it was 80 yards or 78 yards. against the Carolina Panthers. And then remember the following week after that, when he played against the Chargers, they didn't throw the ball to him 2 times. He got the ball thrown his way. And we're kind of scratching our heads saying, hold on a second. I mean, you actually found the diamond in the rough with the aging veteran who came in. It took him some time to get on the field, but fine. You found somebody who's a legitimate playmaker. Get dude the ball. And they don't throw it his way. I mean, he literally had 0 targets against the Cleveland Browns. He was just out there getting some cardio in. Why does that happen? I mean, if you have this target, and by the way, rookie quarterback, they know they're trying to get the ball to Devon Achane, but you want him to have that safety net, that reliable tight end in the intermediate passing game. And it just seems like there was nothing going his way. It was never a point where Quinn Ewers was even looking to get him the football.
Yeah, it's strange because, like, I understand teams will take away like Jalen Waddle and they'll throw a lot of guys, but this guy's he's enormous. Like, you can't. There are plays you can't take him away. He's too tall, and they're just like, nah. Well, it almost feels like we're Mike McDaniel again. Like, it's like he almost relents because that's what the defense. He's thinking about what the defense is trying to take away, so he doesn't risk it anymore.
Yeah,
but
well, the defense is going to take away Darren Waller. So here's what I got for everybody: more plays for Theo Weiss.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, man.
I don't know, man.
Come on.
It's such one of those overthoughts. They're like, all right, guys, hear me out. What if Theo Weiss gets more playing time because he and Quinn Ewers had great preseason chemistry? It's like,
to be fair, they did. They
did.
They balled in the preseason.
So did Eric Azukama. What's he got? 4 catches in his career, if that?
Skylar Thompson to Eazy-E. I mean, that was our preseason for like 3 straight years.
This is crazy to me, man. And then, of course, then in the second half, this Chase Brown, I mean, just absolutely just. I mean, I felt terrible for Jordan. I know Jordan Brooks was out there playing hurt, but this guy, he had Jordan Brooks in hell. I mean, he was just, he was making him miss, he was snatching ankles and was just a fantasy I don't know if anybody had to go up against Chase Brown last week, but that was terrible.
I did in the semifinal of our Odyssey WQAM Fantasy Football League. I was going up against Chase Brown. Luckily, I overcame the Chase Brown nightmare, but it was just hell because you're watching the Dolphins literally not be able to move the football in that third quarter. And somehow the week prior, where they had negative 20 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers, this looked worse. Somehow in the third quarter, it looked worse. The play that drove me nuts was the 4th and short. It might have even been 4th and inches, where Quinn Ewers slips and he falls down short of the goal line. But here's why that play specifically, Tobin. Just I wanted to slam my head into a wall, because if you're Quinn Ewers, the one thing you had to show at the very least was that, hey, you want a quarterback who can put his head into the line of scrimmage and move the chains? I'm your guy. At the very least, I'm your guy. You feel confident in me. 4th and short, I'm going to hike the ball. I'm going to put my head into Aaron Brewer's back, and I'm going to get the first down. And he slipped.
Yep.
I mean, he slipped. Come on, man. Clean your spikes before you go out there, Quinn, and pick up the first down so that at the very least we could say we finally have a quarterback who isn't afraid to use his head to go get you the first down.
Did you guys like Mike Gesicki getting his revenge touchdown and how excited he was?
So annoying. He didn't hit the gritty though. Right? He did. Did he hit the gritty? Danday saying yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was going down the field doing it, back to the bench.
That's so annoying, man. That's so annoying.
He was mic'd up. He said, like, I'd been waiting for that for years. He hates Mike McDaniel. Remember, like, he was on the Mike McDaniel's first season. He was on the franchise tag. Never used him.
Well, it didn't make sense to franchise tag him if they were literally never going to use him. They should have just traded him. And they're like, no, we'll keep him. We'll franchise tag him. And it was like, but we don't want him. We want him to block. Hey, Mike Gesicki learned how to block.
But it's not like they've had great blocking tight ends either. Like, their blocking tight ends have been Durham Smythe and Julian Hill, and then they've added Brunskill, like Darren Waller's not a good blocker. Jonnu Smith's not a good blocker.
Nope.
And he used those guys. It is a little strange. I know it was his first year, so maybe he was just a little afraid of maybe Mike McDaniel's that much worse. But I mean, I don't know. Like Joe Burrow seems to be just fine using them. Maybe it was just a weird thing that all of a sudden, he's gone to guys like Mike Gesicki, but he found no use for Mike Gesicki his first year.
But we knew Gesicki had solid hands. Like we knew that the dude was a legitimate weapon in the passing game. That's why we were all kind of frustrated, because even in that first year of Mike McDaniel, I know 2023 was the year that the offense really took that step into being like this juggernaut offensively. But even in that first year, I mean, don't forget, Tobin, you had that performance in Baltimore where Gesicki had a touchdown. That was where the gritty kind of found its life. And there were instances where the offense looked like the offense that we'd end up seeing the following year, one of the most potent attacks in the NFL. And we were all kind of scratching our heads saying, wait, yeah, I mean, you have Waddle, you have Tyreek Hill. You would love to have that third receiver in the middle of the field, and Mike Gesicki, who we know was an established pass catcher, especially over the top. So it was just one of those weird things where, okay, yeah, you're a run game coordinator. You want tight ends to be able to set the edge and kind of lead the way for the rushing attack, but he's got solid hands. Find a way to incorporate him consistently in the offense.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but he got his revenge touchdown, so good for him. And Joe Burrow got his joy back, because he was talking about, going into it, we were talking about how much Joe Burrow has lost his joy. And then afterwards, he's like, oh, that was fun. Football was fun. I'm like, God, can you believe this? These Dolphins, they gave Joe Burrow back his happiness.
That's all he needed. A little medication, just an afternoon in Miami to go up against the Miami Dolphins. And now, instead of talking about Joe Burrow coming to Miami, we found our next quarterback to keep our eyes on in Lamar Jackson.
Can't wait. I can't wait to get into that. We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. When we come back, the Pro Bowl was announced. Miami Dolphins have some representation, but also others feeling snubbed. We'll hear from the parties with that as we come back after this.
Hey, we want to hear what you have
the pregame show for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM. Tobin here with you alongside Alejandro Solana. We'll have Omar Kelly and Chris Perkins stop by. Dan Day with us here as well. You guys could hear Dan coming up today on the post-game edition of Game Day Uncensored at 4 o'clock, as you guys can get your reaction, get your rage out, or your therapy, whatever you need as you come back from. I hope everybody has a good day. You're with your family. All right, enjoy. It's going to be beautiful weather out there today at Hard Rock Stadium. Perfect day to take in some football. Maybe you play a little spoiler. Who knows? All right, but go enjoy yourselves there today at Hard Rock Stadium. That's the important stuff right now.
Yeah, you really couldn't ask for a better day for your final tailgate. For those of you who are driving out to Hard Rock or you're already out there, you literally could not ask for a better day to be out at the orange or blue lot, do a little grilling, and take it in one last time.
It was a good time. Everybody saw yesterday. I was at the Heat game. I took the train for the first time to the Heat game.
What? Really?
Yeah, I did. Wow. I was a train guy yesterday. Never took the train.
Where'd you get on?
West Palm.
Oh wow, all the way down. So you took the Bright Line.
I took the Bright Line. Line all the way down to Miami, which was easy breezy. I mean, it went super. The only thing that was annoying on the way home, a lot of drunk people, and then I got stuck behind the one guy wearing a TJ McConnell jersey. And I'm just like, oh my god!
Well, at least TJ McConnell didn't play yesterday.
Oh, thank God he didn't play
because Pascal Siakam gave you the quick 30 piece in the first half. The only thing that was missing was the 30 piece from TJ McConnell in the second half.
No doubt. I was definitely happy about that. That was the only downside. But no, train, lovely. It was a great time.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Don't know if I'll do it on the reg, but maybe those nights where, because you never know. Sometimes going north, Solana, you never know with that construction on 95 what the hell they're up to,
bro. And even for me, I go southwest to Kendall, so every time I leave a Heat game, and Toby, I leave a little later than most people. I'm at the arena about an hour and a half until after the game ends doing the post game show. I go and I'm going to take 836 West. Guess what? They decide at 11:30 to shut down 836 West. So now I'm in Little Havana. I'm driving past Lone Depot Park. I'm basically hitting every area in Miami to try to get home. It seems like every single Heat game. There's nothing worse than putting up 91 points against the Raptors, and it takes me an hour to get home as I'm driving by Lone Depot Park.
Yeah, that doesn't make it better, especially when there's a bad loss tailed to it. But anyway, enjoy your time there today at Hard Rock Stadium, everybody. You guys can go welcome Devon Achane. He is a Pro Bowler. He was the Dolphins' lone representative. There are some alternates, but he was the one to make the squad. Now, I am a little. What is the pro? Are they still doing the stupid games? Is that what they're doing? Like they play flag football and obstacle courses and things like that. They don't do any real football anymore with the Pro Bowl games.
Yeah, they're doing like cornhole tournaments or something. Like it just feels like they've gone away from the game, the least watched NFL game in the history of time, which is that Pro Bowl game.
And now they've rolled it into Super Bowl weekend because they realize they got negative ratings doing it in between weeks. So now it's part of Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So we don't even get that like 1 weekend of just Pro Bowl games?
Probably the smart thing to do. Just throw it in there. You could do appearances at the Super Bowl, and things like that. Everybody's out there anyway, probably doing like Radio Row stuff. It's probably a good call by them to do that. But I don't know. Like, listen, the Pro Bowl sucked. They tried doing something. All-Star games are kind of losing their luster as it is. I mean, this Adam Silver keeps making his All-Star game worse and worse every year.
I don't understand what's going on there. Like, all the fans want to see is just the East versus West again.
Right.
And make every player wear their own jersey like it was in the early 2000s. Enough with these whack-ass All-Star jerseys that nobody wants to buy. And he's like, no, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give you multiple teams. We're going to give you multiple teams, and they're all going to play against each other.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what it is like, I feel like with these All-Star games is there's no sports usually going on around them. So people always find the need. Like, I think they just get too wrapped up in the takes that are afterwards. And it's like, yeah, I guess we do got to change it. Because if, like, as a sports talk show, the only thing you're going to say is how much the All-Star game or their competitions suck and how they need to change. Because what else am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about how Bobby Abreu hit 54 home runs in a home run derby. No, I got to figure out whether or not the home run derby needs to change. So, anywho, congrats to Devon Achane for the honor of being named a Pro Bowler. This is what he had to say. He said he's proud about it.
I feel good, man. It's one of the accomplishments of mine, and that's something that I grew up watching. When I was a kid, watching Pro Bowl, seeing the guys out there, having fun, just enjoying the stuff that they did across the league. So for me, this been my first time. I'm excited about it.
So good for him. He deserves it. Great season so far by Devon Achane.
For sure, well deserved.
He has been awesome. He really feels like he is anything respectable on offense has really been done by him, and nobody can catch him. It doesn't matter. Like he's one guy you could try and take him out of the game. It doesn't seem like it works.
It's impossible to, and I think not just this year, but look at body of work over his career, Tobin. It's genuinely cool to watch somebody who had a big rookie season, and I know last year there was some injuries, but he had a solid year last year, and to take that next step again this year in his third year, you really just feel like you're watching one of those guys who's going to be really good in the NFL for a long time.
The Dolphins did get a couple of snubs in the midst of this. Jordan Brooks, in spite of leading the league in tackles, did not make the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but here's my thing with this. I saw a lot of reaction on social media. Oh, Jordan Brooks, got screwed. And look, I genuinely believe Aaron Brewer is the best center in the NFL, and he didn't make the Pro Bowl either. But that's what happens when your team sucks.
Agreed.
Like really good teams with players who are putting up the numbers Jordan Brooks put up, or who have that consistent offensive lineman who's played in 58 consecutive games, whatever the record is. Hopefully it continues today for Aaron Brewer. Those guys make the Pro Bowl because people are watching those games on national TV. People are tuned in to those games. People are talking about those rosters. And I realize the frustration of Dolphins fans because, hey, Jordan Brooks leading the league in tackles for the entire season. You would think he deserves to be in the Pro Bowl, but guess what? The Dolphins defense for most part of the season was underwhelming. And nobody's talking about Jordan Brooks nationally because nobody's talking about the Miami Dolphins other than the quarterback and the head coach situation.
Well, Dan Orlovsky gave him some love. I think he said that he's the best center in the NFL. Like, that was a thing. But Dan Orlovsky also referred to the Dolphins as dangerous. It probably ruined his credibility because it's a terrible description of this Dolphins team. So then everybody's like, well, this Dan Orlovsky is a quack. We can't take anything he says seriously. So if you're going to blame anybody, Aaron Brewer, I would blame Dan Orlovsky just because he went too far on the deep end on his Dolphins love.
You would think Dan Orlovsky would have done a little bit of research before going all in on the Miami Dolphins in that Monday Night Football game against Pittsburgh. Like, hey, Dan, we appreciate the fact that you have some confidence in us down here, but maybe realize that this team has, for the better part of 25 years, given you hope at the most miserable time just to let you down again at the very end.
This was Aaron Brewer. This is his reaction to not making the Pro Bowl. He felt snubbed.
Very much so disappointed, you know what I'm saying? Because if anybody who watch football, they see just see the type of work I put on tape every weekend, every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever they be playing on. You know what I'm saying? I play at a very high level, and it's not too many other centers that could do the things I do. And so I definitely feel like I was snubbed in on Pro Bowl. But you still got things in the future, all pro, and so far so on, probably protector of the year. And hopefully I'll win those awards or get close to it.
There you go. Brew, unfortunately, not going to the Pro Bowl. Listen, dude, it's a fake thing anyway. You don't want to go. That all pros where it's at. Hopefully you can get involved with that. But he obviously very disappointed with that. I do think that if you have one of the best running backs in the league, like, that should also be a part of, like, hey, I'm not part of any of this. The Dolphins offensive line's not one. It's been much maligned many a years, but he has definitely been a nice staple these last couple for the Dolphins.
And it should also factor in that the guy playing to his left was the worst rated guard in at one point in the history of the game, one of the worst rated guards this season. That should factor into the fact that he held it down playing next to Sabati Naya all year.
Yep. And for the Dolphins perspective, he's given him a lot. Brooks, I feel bad for because I think like he did so much with a defense that was, put together last minute and felt like, in a time where nobody was stopping, he was basically racking up tackles galore. He had the 20 tackle game at one point this season, but I don't disagree with your take, Solana. Like, if they're not a good team, you're not going to get that many all-star representatives. And if you told me only one could get picked, it would be Devon Achane.
It had to be Devon Achane. And quickly here, Tobin, I know we're up against it. Devon Achane has the luxury of being a fantasy football player that a lot of people will talk about because of the amount of points he puts up week after week. Jordan Brooks, you don't draft when you're looking at fantasy, which I think is how a majority of like the casual fans follow the NFL. You don't draft Jordan Brooks, you draft the Dolphins defense, and they just haven't been a top defense this season. So like Devon Achane has the luxury of being talked about by every fantasy football league across the league or across the country because, man, he's just putting up those monster points. So he really is right now like the face of anything positive when talking about the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, and I'm sure whenever the local reporters vote on whoever the MVP is this year, he's going to win. Like, it's not – I honestly would be stunned if anybody else would get a vote for that.
My vote's going to Riley Patterson, but that is, for selfish purposes.
Are you happy that it seems like he's going to get to see this thing through? It seemed like Sanders was going to make his return this week.
I'm happy because I genuinely believe, Riley Patterson deserves to finish out the season. It kind of just would have been a crummy situation to put him on ice and waive him after, 16 really solid games or 15 really solid games. But no, Tobin, actually what would have been perfect for my scenario, my world, where I just want as much ammunition to talk bleep to Hawk and Crowder, is that they actually waive Riley Patterson. Jason Sanders comes back today, and he goes like 0 for 2 on field goals.
That is fair. That would have cemented your case, even if the season is lost. You would have said, "Well, look at him; he's a washed old man, and you should just stuck with Riley Patterson." But alas, he does get to continue his run here, seemingly to close out the season. Speaking of futures, Mike McDaniel. A lot of questions and reports now out on where his future stands. We'll get into that and get into more of Quinn Ewers' debut. Did he look to anybody like he could take over the reins next year for the Miami Dolphins? We'll continue with Gameday Uncensored after this.
Hurricanes basketball plays here.
Miami, an Odyssey sports station.
Powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
Last home game of the season for the Dolphins. The Buccaneers have come down from Tampa Bay to take on the Fins. The Bucs are going to play extra tough today. They've got a playoff spot on the line. Not all was bad in Dolphins land this week. Devon Achane made the AFC Pro Bowl team. So that's good. What's not good is the way the Dolphins have played this season. Darren Waller, I'm trying to get up for the remaining 2 games of the Fin season.
If you let the world dictate your perspective, people are going to tell you that these games we're playing don't mean anything. But you have to decide and shape your perspective of, all right, everything that I do has meaning in it if I choose to find it, if I choose to look at it that way. So that's what we're just trying to communicate across the locker room with guys.
Quinn Ewers is going to start. Mike McDaniel talks about his game.
I was pleasantly surprised in that I've learned over the years that don't have your expectations shaped directly by practice in that particular regard. He was doing a very good job getting everyone aligned, going play to play and having command, but you expect kind of a downshift in the game, and I didn't see that.
Dolphins and Buccaneers today, and we're getting ready for it on Game Day Uncensored. The pregame show for real Miami football fans with Tobin and Solana, Omar Kelly, and Chris Perkins on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami's sports leader.
Game Day Uncensored on FM 104.3 WQAM is brought to you by the Lexus TX. Room for all your passions in 3 rows of luxurious comfort. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. When it comes to scoring a rugged new truck, Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is the MVP of selection. Visit EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and start shopping today. Remember, you're always backed by Morse. And by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business. A 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road, Margate.
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It is Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM. Brendan Tobin alongside Alejandro Solana here with you for the next few hours as we get you ready for Week 17 NFL action. Dolphins and Bucs from Hard Rock Stadium as the Dolphins will look to play spoiler to Tampa Bay here today. Get some revenge for the Panthers last night and that goonage that was going on from the Lightning on ice. And that'll get going today at 1 o'clock. Chris Perkins will stop by later on this hour, and we'll get into some topics around the Fins with Perk. But it has been an interesting season as far as how this year has gone all the way down, then a little rally, then petered out in Pittsburgh. Tua got benched. We got to see Quinn Ewers debut. Let me ask you this, Solana, on Quinn Ewers, okay? Did you see anything out of him that was to the idea of, oh, this is the guy? Like, I could deal with a year of him starting as the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, or did he just look fine?
No, I didn't see anything out of him that made me believe after that game, yeah, there's some hope here where you bring him back next year and you feel comfortable with him as your QB1. But to be fair, Tobin, I don't think it's fair to look at a 1-game sample size from anybody and try to come to that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, when we were talking about expectations for Quinn Ewers going into the game last week, I don't think any of us were saying he's got to prove to us in 1 game that he's the future starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, or at the very least, he could be that bridge quarterback next year. It wasn't really what I think anybody was looking for. We were just looking to see if he could be competent, if he could have command and awareness in the Mike McDaniel system. And to be fair, as bad as it got in the third and fourth quarters, for most of that first and second quarter, he did look like somebody who at the very least seemed comfortable. But no, I didn't come away from that game saying, yeah, this is the dude that we have to kind of fall behind for next year.
Yeah, I wasn't overly impressed either. I didn't come away saying I never want to see him play quarterback. It was a really bad second half. I mean, that there's no doubt about that, but it was just a disaster all around. I don't particularly just blame that on Quinn Ewers, because even the one that was down at the sidelines where he got picked off, I feel like that's you trying to kind of change the momentum. You're trying to make something happen. And I think you don't realize how much these DBs and these defenses can smell blood in the water. Even a terrible defense like Cincinnati, and they are a bad defense, can kind of pick up some things that maybe you're doing that they just need about a half to kind of break you down and get some footage. Because mind you, they don't really have any film on you. But yeah, there were some moments. I think there were some flashes as far as there's some talent there, but I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if anything that could have happened in that game or the next two is going to be I'm very comfortable with Quinn Ewers being the dude next year.
No, I don't think so. Here's the thing though. What I think was disappointing in that game was that you were still going up against a really bad defense, the worst defense in the NFL. So you were hoping against the Bengals, hey man, the idea, and even looking back on it, the idea that Quinn Ewers was going to go toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow, who has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins actually healthy in that game, it's laughable. It just, we anybody who genuinely thought that should have their head examined. But with that being said, you just wanted it to look clean for 4 games. We were talking about the procedural stuff earlier. I wanted to make sure that Quinn Ewers looked comfortable getting out of the huddle, calling plays, being able to get out of the pocket, use his legs, just show us things that Tua's not able to do right now because of the limitations of his body. And there were moments, Tobin, but that didn't look like somebody who could be extremely elusive out of the pocket. That didn't look like somebody who could really make something out of nothing when the pocket breaks down and you got to step up and then get out of the pocket and roll to either side. And it just didn't look like somebody who has that type of talent. I know he's got the arm strength. I know he can throw the ball 1,000,000 yards. And I know at the very least when he's standing upright, he's got the stature of what it is that you want in a quarterback right now in the NFL. But there wasn't any of those wow plays from Quinn in that game.
Yeah, agreed with that. Dan, did you come away impressed with Quinn Ewers in his debut? What did you think of the Rook?
I thought he was exactly what he is. Tua, sit down. We're putting in the 3rd string quarterback. And at best, if Quinn Ewers plays up to his ability, he's going to solidify himself as a backup quarterback.
I think the thing that was interesting, when you come away from that game, guys, the whole point of it was that Mike McDaniel said he wanted convicted quarterback play and that he thought this gave the Dolphins the best chance to win.
Right.
And yeah, there's definitely some window dressing on that. But did you come away with that game thinking if Tua would have played that game, that the Dolphins would have had a better chance to win than the rookie, and how things fell apart in the second half?
A better chance? Maybe, because I don't think it gets as out of control as it did for Quinn, because it just felt like it spiraled, right? It was that domino effect of one bad play, and then you wanted to kind of come back, compose, and get back into your offense, and you couldn't really do that. I think back to, even before the Theo Weiss fumble and before the Dulcich fumble, where they throw that flag on Theo Weiss for the alleged offensive pass interference. And that very next play, okay, you've been docked a couple yards. That very next play has to be a positive one, and it just results in a turnover. So, and again, that's not his fault, but just overall from the team, there wasn't any of that fight that you want. And I think at the very least, Tua gives you a little bit of a better chance to fight back from those tough situations. But again, Tobin, we're comparing apples to oranges here. That's somebody in the NFL who's played 6 seasons, right?
For sure.
Quinn doesn't have that experience. So I agree with Dan Day. We were kind of expecting a guy to look like a backup quarterback because that's what he's been. And to expect somebody who hadn't taken first team snaps all season until Tuesday, or until Monday rather, of last week leading up to go play that game against the Bengals, it's unlikely that he was going to come in and light the world on fire.
I liked always when they showed Tua on the sidelines, they were like, there he is, supportive. I'm like, what do I think he's going to give double birds to Quinn Ewers as he's walking off the field? Like, yeah, like they did that. Like they probably said that 4 or 5 times in the broadcast. It felt like where they're like, there he is, guys, Tua clapping. Like, all right, yeah, that's what I would expect. I would expect you to be I don't expect Tua to be a complete rat bastard.
Do you think Tua yesterday or last Sunday liked the fact that the emergency third quarterback has to be suited up in pads on the sideline?
I don't know. You mean like just like he'd rather just be in street clothes?
Well, yeah, because here's the thing: like if you're in street clothes, you have a little less responsibility on you in terms of like where you want to stand, where you want to be. Like if he's in street clothes, Tobin, he's not playing in the game. So theoretically, he could kind of just walk over to the bench, take a couple plays off. The camera maybe a little bit harder to find him, but he's wearing Uno. He's wearing his jersey. He's wearing his pads. He's kind of got to be present on the sideline at all times. And I know Tua's playing good soldier right now. God bless the kid. He's out there. He's got the earpiece in. He's greeting Quinn every time he comes to the sideline. Every time the camera panned to him, it seemed like he was into the game. Tobin, this guy's got to be fuming right now. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
I think that's why I thought it was funny with them making such a big deal out of him. Like we got his honest reaction on whatever day it was, Wednesday or whatever the hell the announcement was.
Yeah,
because he was pissed. I mean, and I get it. Like you finally it finally catches up with you, and you're just like, all right, I guess rats off a ship here. And I think that you have these days, and whoever is around Tua, because this is the other thing. Like you are in a way auditioning for whatever your next stop is going to be. You have to play like the good teammate, because if you act like an ingrate, who the hell's going to want you? So no, I think that I'm sure that between the time of him saying, "Oh, I'm not happy," and he's fuming about the decision, and the time that we get to Sunday, that there had to be a lot of, massaging of the ego to get him to a point where he was going to act like that.
Well, and let's not forget, and I know you didn't, Tobin, the only other time Tua Tagovailoa in his NFL career has been in this type of situation was when he took Ryan Fitzpatrick's job as the starting quarterback. And we all remember how Fitzy reacted to that. It was publicly, just a cry fest from Fitzpatrick. So, like, that's all he knows in the NFL. You publicly give the statement of just honesty and truth, which is, I'm not happy about this decision. By the way, he shouldn't be happy about this decision. He's still the highest paid player on the team, and he still felt like it was his team. I still, though, Tobin, believe it was the right decision. I don't agree with why Mike McDaniel is alleging he did it, which is Quinn Ewers gives us the better chance to win. We knew that was BS. You had to see what you had in the rookie quarterback that you spent a draft pick on if you are indeed moving on from Tua, and now that the season was over. I still think it was the right decision.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's one of these things where I feel like, based on how the narrative has gone over these last couple of days with Mike McDaniel, or these last couple of weeks rather, it's been, what can I do to solidify my job status? And I feel like, with the conversations he's had with ownership, I know it's been reported this week, it was reported by Marcel Louis Jacques in a piece on Tua, that this was solely Mike McDaniel's decision. And maybe that's true, but I don't think it was done without the influence of, hey, what else can you show me that proves you should be my head coach going forward? And the only other thing would be, hey, I have this quarterback that we drafted that I'm going to show you with the guy with actual functioning body how this thing can go. And I don't think any of that was proven last week. I saw a lot of the same issues, a lot of the same problems that the team has had. It's a Devon Achane reliant offense that, could script some good stuff together, especially get off to good starts, but eventually it runs out of juice by the time you get to halftime. Like, I don't think anything different was really shown. Maybe it looked different physically on some throws to some people, but go back to the Jets game. Like, how did that start of that game look any different than what Tua did to the Jets? It didn't. Like, be honest with yourselves. It didn't look any different from that game. And once you ran out of plays, then Tua looked like a horse's ass, and he was nearly throwing it behind. He was nearly throwing it out of the end zone. But I think what this has shown is Mike McDaniel's got a finite amount of passing offense and a quarterback, anybody in that room capable of running it for a little bit, and then it runs out of steam.
Yeah, but like, what was the alternative? Just keep allowing the ship to sink with Tua?
I mean, the ship is sunk. Like, the damage is done. You're out of the playoffs.
But clearly, right? But clearly,
like, to me, the only thing is
for Mike McDaniel, Tobin. Like, he's actively trying to salvage his job. One of only 32 in the world, and for Mike McDaniel, like, if he can prove, hey, I can kind of run this offense with somebody who's not the quarterback that everybody thinks I'm conjoined at the hip with, then I understand the decision. I just think from a football standpoint, we're just talking football here. If you know that one guy is no longer the answer, and maybe you have one at the end of the bench that, again, you spent draft capital on, at the very least, the season's over, you're out of the playoffs. Just from a front office standpoint, an evaluational standpoint, you have to kick the tires on that and see, hey, do we have something? And I think that's what you're doing here. No matter what Mike McDaniel's trying to do with his job, no matter what they're telling you, which is Quinn Ewers gives you the best chance to win, like, you just have to give this guy a couple opportunities to go out there and see if there are any flashes. Okay, last week didn't go great. Last week there were no highlight reel plays. Last week there were no moments that made you say, wow, this kid's got the juice. But maybe second game, maybe by the third game, you see a couple of those. And at the very least, you say, hey, that's an option next year when you're kind of in one of these weird bridge years from flushing out all the negativity and all the bad stuff that led you to this point. And hopefully the next era of Dolphins football that, for the love of God, better be more successful than what it is we've watched the last couple of years.
A man who's always successful, no matter what era it is, Chris Perkins, Miami Dolphins columnist from the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. He comes on the program and joins us next.
WQAM, broadcasting live from the
Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM. Brendan Tobin and Alejandro Solana here with you as we get you ready for Dolphins and Bucks as the Dolphins season winds down with a couple more weeks left, and it's brought to you by Edmore Sawgrass Automall. Shop massive savings on massive Chevy inventory, all backed by Morse at Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Visit EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com. Chevy, find new roads, and we'll go out to the guest line and find Chris Perkins there from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Perk, how you doing on this Sunday morning?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Home finale. Let's see what the crowd is in the mood for. I think they should be in a good mood today, but we'll see. We'll see if they're hostile or friendly today.
Got the holiday fear. They should be in somewhat of a good mood, Perk, I would imagine. But it has been a pretty rancid season, especially if it has another bad third quarter. What the hell's going on here, man? I mean, do you have a good theory for what the hell's going on with the Dolphins after halftime?
You know what? I think it's probably the obvious, right? That they can't make in-game adjustments as well as the other team can. That the other team sees what the Dolphins are doing effectively, they switch it up, and the Dolphins have no response. I mean, there's no other explanation. Well, to me, there's no other obvious explanation, and I think you've got to go with the obvious. It's right there in front of your face. This is largely a coaching issue.
Might be a Tampa Bay Buccaneers takeover today at Hard Rock.
Yeah.
Perk, right? Like doesn't this kind of have that feel to it where Dolphins fans just say, well, season's over, might sell my tickets to a couple of these Bucs fans who still have playoff dreams?
You know what? In 3 of the last 4 games, Buffalo, Baltimore, and Cincinnati, we've really heard from the visiting fans. New Orleans was the only game that, the Saints fans, they've given up. They gave up like 2 decades ago. I think you could see a good amount of Tampa Bay fans down here and making noise. Those Cincinnati fans last week, right when, I wasn't sure whose orange I was seeing between Bengals orange and Dolphins orange, but after T. Higgins scored that touchdown, it was pretty obvious the Bengals fans had made pretty big inroads. You heard the who day, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see today. Dolphins fans, it's kind of light out there in the tailgating sections that I drove through. It's a little bit light out there, so we'll see if Tampa fans bought up all the extra tickets.
Man, that's a shame.
I guess secondary market. Yeah,
that's a shame because it's such a great day. Going back to what Tobin had asked about in terms of the third quarters, and you say it's a coaching issue. Is there anything we can still learn from Mike McDaniel over the next couple games, Perk? I mean, like, is there any? I'm not even talking about with Quinn Ewers per se. We'll get there, but just in general, like as a coach, X's and O's, adjustments. Is there anything we can learn about Mike McDaniel that we don't already know?
I don't think so. I would think that Steve Ross and all the decision makers have probably already decided what they're going to do with Mike as far as is he going to stay or is he going to go? Because, once they were eliminated from playoff contention, that was pretty much it, right? And you've made the playoffs in your first 2 years and you missed the playoffs in your last 2 years. So pretty much that's it. It doesn't matter, if you can finish with a whatever record. It's about playoffs and winning playoff games. And that's one thing that Mike McDaniel has failed to do. One of my big complaints with this team is they never leveled up. 4-20, they entered this season against playoff teams, and right now they're 1-4 against playoff teams. So they never did get any better as far as they set a standard that first year, right? 9-8 with Tua missing 4 or 5 games, and you make the playoffs. Now, can you keep building on that? And they really did not. You did finish 11-6 that next year, but you didn't advance anything because you didn't win a playoff game, and then you've got 2 losing seasons. So, to me, you can say a lot of good stuff about Mike McDaniel, about how he did get the most out of Tua, although I think he just told him to throw it to Tyreek, basically. And this team didn't quit. He did his best coaching unfield, to me, X's and O's, last year with the dink and dunk offense and this year with the running game. But to me, it's just not enough. I don't think Mike McDaniel has been a bad coach. I just don't think he's done good enough with the talent that he had.
Perk, Devon Achane, deservingly so, makes the Pro Bowl this week, so good for him. A bigger snub to you, was it Aaron Brewer or was it Jordan Brooks that did not make it?
Ooh, boy, I would have to say Jordan Brooks because I think he's led the league in tackles since week 4. And this is not a good run defense. You know, they've had their struggles. Even now, 4 of the last 7 opponents have rushed for over 100 yards. Dolphins have gone 1-3 in those games. But Jordan Brooks has still been there making tackles, doing what he could. Early in the season, a lot of those tackles were downfield, you know, after 4- and 5-yard gains. And that was because the defensive line was they had no trust in each other. And so they weren't really doing their job. They were trying to cover for the guy next to them. And of course, that creates gaps and holes and misfits in the run defense. And teams took advantage of that. And it was up to Jordan Brooks to kind of clean it up. Now the defensive line has been better. You're seeing more of his tackles at the line of scrimmage for short gains or short losses. But Jordan Brooks, either way, has been consistent. So he got a big snub. But then Aaron Brewer, I mean, you look at the athleticism that guy shows and kind of the ability to get out in front of Devon Achane on some of these runs and make the lead blocks. That guy had an outstanding season. But you know, I do think when you have leaders like Brooks and Brewer, the aggressiveness that I always thought was missing with this team, the physicality, that's starting to make a comeback. So you get some more players with those types of attitudes, and you're on your way to good things. But definitely congratulations to Achane for making it. And, yeah, Brooks and Brew both should have been in there.
Do you feel, Perk, on that note, that the Dolphins, at the very least, if you're looking – for silver linings at the end of the season, from week 1 to now entering week 17, that left side of the offensive line, like, is it at the very least, is it solidified? And I'm including Aaron Brewer in that. So Brewer, Savaiinaya, and Patrick Paul, like, is that solidified? Should we feel comfortable about that going into next season? Or is there's still like a lot of shakeup that needs to happen in terms of the entire O-line?
No, you should feel good about the left side. If you go Brewer at center, Savaiinaya at guard, and Patrick Paul at tackle. On the right side, you need to find a right guard because James Daniels only played 3 snaps, and I don't know if Cole Strange is coming back or if he's the ideal. And then at right tackle, you've got to find a backup because of Austin Jackson's injury history. And then you do need some more offensive line depth. But I like what they found out with the offensive line this year, and that's that. As run blockers, they've really found their wheelhouse, right? But the pass protection, it's, you know, I think that you found out this season that this is an offensive line much more suited to run blocking than pass blocking. And they've always wanted athletic, agile, mobile offensive linemen for this offense. But when they're pass blocking, you don't see those tangible qualities. You don't see that. You see kind of more cerebral stuff and communication and passing off assignments and stuff like that. When you see these guys run block, they're physical, they're aggressive, and you see that side of them. And to me, I kind of think, well, why couldn't you do this type of a run game in 2023? I know you gained yards in 2023, but it was mostly big play yards. This is a run game that moves the chains and wins games, even with a 191-pound running back. And that's because your offensive line is playing more to its comfort zone, playing more to its strength, which is using its athleticism to run block. So we did find that out about this offensive line, and we did find out you can move forward with the left side of that offensive line. Savaiinaya, I know he had a rough rookie year, but he has come on late in the season. So nice job by the offensive line overall.
Perk, what do you think of the last 2 defensive first-round draft picks? Kenneth Grant, Chop Robinson. You take guys that high, they're supposed to be building blocks to a great defense. Do you feel comfortable going into next year that these guys are going to be strongholds to make this a good defense?
No. But I feel comfortable that they could be solid players and solid contributors. I don't see a Pro Bowl in either of their futures. And that's disappointing when you have back-to-back first-round picks up in that front 7, right? You need some kind of a superstar player. You need some kind of something that tells you, okay, this guy can lead the defensive front. I think both Kenneth Grant and Chop will be fine. They could be, 6 or 8 year starters, but again, I don't see a Pro Bowl in either of their futures. You guys know that I like this trend in the last couple of years of building up the trenches. You had Patrick Paul and Jonas Avainaya as second-round picks both years. So I like that. Patrick Paul is a guy who you could see, a Pro Bowl or two in his future, maybe more. Avainaya needs some work done there, but, I think that, Chop Robinson and Kenneth Grant are fine. But that's third and fourth round picks. You need a butt kicker for a first round pick. So they're solid players. I see a future for them, but you want to see more from first round picks.
Perk, who's the I don't want to. I'm taking Kenneth Grant out of this. Who's like the player that the Dolphins brought in this season that really, in your opinion, surprised you the most, like elevated their game the most? Because I think there's a couple different guys that you could point to, but you didn't really have like the most impressive rookie class. And I'm not even only singling it down to rookies, just somebody that the Dolphins signed this year that throughout the most of the season, like really performed well.
Well, off the top of my head, definitely the rookies are Jordan Phillips and Dante Trader. Jordan Phillips, the defensive tackle, and Dante Trader, the safety. Those two dudes are grown men. They really did well with those two draft picks. This draft class, they got a lot of experience. 6 of the 8 draftees have made at least one start. None of them, I don't see necessarily great things, in the future for any of them right now. But I think that Jordan Phillips and Dante Trader are really going to be very good pros. I do like what they did with those picks. It's, Darren Baller obviously came in and did a good job, but he just wasn't healthy enough. Cole Strange actually came in and did a good job, shoring up what he had to shore up. Larry Borum did a good job, but Cole Strange and Larry Borum, those are, I guess, complementary guys. And if you're trying to win playoff games, right, they're more depth guys, or more you would hope that would be your weakest starter. I'm trying to think of other guys who came in here. Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones. I think Juju Brents did a good job also for the short time that we saw him. But, Solana and Tobin, the thing is, you notice all these names that I'm saying, there's not a whole lot of Pro Bowl potential there, right? I mean, it's just guys. It's just guys. And so that's kind of the next step for this team. And by the way, I think one thing that they need to do for next season is decide, what do you want to do with Waddle and Achane in their prime? Are you going to try to use them to win games and get to the playoffs and build around them? Or are you going to maybe sell them off and see what you can get in exchange for them? But that's 2 prime offensive pieces that you could build around. You've got a decent returning offensive line, right, with Brewer and Patrick Paul and Avainaya and Austin Jackson. Alec Ingold will be back. So they've got to kind of decide what they want to do offensively, and especially, while you've got Achane and Waddle.
But before we get you out of here, we haven't gotten into this on the show yet, so I'm gonna tee it up for you first. There was a report this week in the Baltimore Sun that Lamar Jackson would love to be in Miami. Of course, South Florida native.
Yep.
How responsible would that be if the Dolphins just said, forget about, going and finding our guy in the draft, forget about this Quinn Ewers nonsense, let's just go give up the farm for Lamar Jackson? You're Stephen Ross, you're old as hell. You maybe wanted him in the first place. How likely you think it is? How likely you think it is the Dolphins could just get irresponsible and lure Lamar Jackson down here?
I would do it. I because he's a known quantity, and so I would. If there's a known quantity out there, a 2-time MVP at quarterback, and I just mentioned who you have coming back offensively, right? So if you have Lamar Jackson, Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, Alec Ingold, Aaron Brewer, Patrick Paul, Austin Jackson, Jonas Avainaya, that's a pretty good start, right? That's a pretty good start to an offense. And, defensively, you do need some work. I would imagine that, Bradley Chubb will not be back. We know that Tua and Tyreek won't be back. But defensively, you return Kenneth Grant and Zach Sealer, Chop Robinson, Jordan Brooks. We'll see what happens with T-Dot, Terrell Dodson. Minka. We'll see who of these corners return. You bring Lamar in here, you're probably starting off as, I don't know, before draft and free agency, a 7 or 8 win team. You make some additions. Maybe you get up to being a 10-win team and you get some of Lamar's magic. Maybe you get a home playoff game. I don't know. But I would, almost whatever they would want for Lamar, I would give it up because I've got Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle in their prime. You add them to Lamar in his prime, you can build something here.
Chris Perkins, go read his work in the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Appreciate you, Perk.
All right, guys, we'll do it next week.
There you go. I always appreciate when he makes time for us. Game Day Uncensored brought to you by the Lexus December to Remember sales event. Get offers on select models now through January 5th. We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
No time of the year sounds better than the holiday.
Let's get back to Game Day Uncensored. The pregame show for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM as we take you guys up until this 1 o'clock kickoff. Thanks again to Chris Perkins for stopping by. Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald. He'll stop by around noon as we get you ready for this week 17, NFL matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As yesterday, if you guys missed it, the Ravens, they were able to win over the Green Bay Packers, and the Texans were able to beat the LA Chargers. So that clinched the AFC West for the Broncos. And Houston still alive in their division, the AFC South, as the Jaguars are surging as well. The Colts, man, wow, what a fall off for them.
Crazy, man. Because I felt like that had first round playoff loss written all over it, regardless if Daniel Jones had stayed healthy. But you got to feel for that organization, man, a little bit. Don't you, Tobin, to have that type of hot start? I do. A little bit. I feel for them a little bit.
Why would I feel for them? They had Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. I mean, they're all right. So they've had a little bit of a cursed thing. They had a cute start to the season. Daniel Jones resurgence. You felt froggy. You traded 2 first-rounders for Sauce Gardner. Oh well.
Yeah, but I mean, you come out to that hot start with Daniel Jones.
Yep.
And he goes down with the torn Achilles. I mean. Man, they saw something in that guy that nobody else saw.
Anybody feel bad for the Dolphins when the Monday night meltdown happened against Tennessee? I don't think so.
Yeah, different situation. The Colts are out of it because their starting quarterback tore up his leg. The Dolphins lost to a team that they had no business losing to that day. No business losing to, Tobin.
It is that part of the show where we like to listen in on our Dolphins and see what they had to say this week. We like to call this echolocation.
It's time for echolocation.
That is how dolphins communicate.
It's okay to be called out as long as you change your behavior.
What's 1,000 yards if it's not like a winning season?
They talk, we do.
Echolocation.
Send it in.
They talk, we do.
When the tombstone goes up for this season, that's what needs to be on it. They talk, we do, and whatever the final record is going to end up being.
Yeah, what's the meme? It's like shout out to the haters. The haters had good points. It's basically what they should say. It's like, they talk, but you know what? They made some good points.
Shout out to the haters. They were right. They were right.
We could end up not seeing Aaron Brewer today. He's dealing with a neck injury. We'll get our actives and inactives sometime next hour. But we may see the debut of Andrew Meyer at center for the Dolphins. This is what Aaron Brewer had to say on Andrew Meyer.
He looking good. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably the biggest Andrew Meyer fan out of anybody since he came in last year as a rookie. You know what I'm saying? I just see how he approach work, his kind of work, and his mentality. He a great guy, great center, great player, great teammate. And I've always said since I met him, Andrew is a for sure starter in this NFL, in this league. One day he will be. And so I have nothing but big belief and I'm so sure about Andrew Meyer producing what we need to win the game.
A lot of pressure on this Andrew Meyer. People have been talking up this Andrew Meyer behind the scenes now for 2 years. Teron Armstead says he's going to be amazing. All I keep hearing about is this Andrew Meyer, this undrafted. Where did he go, to UTEP? This undrafted center at a UTEP, Andrew Meyer. Didn't Chris Greer say he looks like a truck driver? And all we keep hearing about him, he was in a lot of training camp because Aaron Brewer was banged up, but then he got banged up, so we haven't seen him. And so maybe it will be today, Solana, that we get to see the unicorn that is Andrew Meyer.
I've never seen so much commotion about a backup center that hasn't taken a snap this year, by the way.
It's crazy.
This feels, dare I say, Ethan Bonner-esque. But hey, if you're in a situation where you need the backup center to come in, bro, we better see the best performance from a backup center in the history of the NFL with the way that this has been talked about all week and for the past, actually, since his practice window opened. The return of Andrew Meyer.
They haven't shut up about. Are you excited, Dan Day, about the debut potentially of Andrew Meyer?
After last week, I'm not excited about any backups or late round or non-drafted picks coming in at this point in the season. I'm a little worn down, I think. So no.
Dan Day was beaten down by Quinn Ewers last week, man.
Quinn Ewers got me. It started with Skylar Thompson and how I got murdered by saying that Skylar Thompson's never going to amount to anything, and everybody said I wasn't a real fan. I was an idiot. Then I was right. I'm not doing it again. Quinn Ewers I'm not doing it again. I can't. I'm defeated.
Totally fair. Speaking of Quinn Ewers, this is what he thought of how he got all the Dolphins offense organized pre-snap. Here's what he had to say on that.
Yeah, no, I thought I did a great job. I thought all the timing snap points were finishing up in a good spot for our guys to get the right angles. Really didn't have any. I guess I think it was one pre-snap issue that we had. So Obviously, room to grow, room to build. And, I mean, we all have another opportunity to showcase, how much it matters to us this week. So excited for the opportunity for not only me, but all these guys in this room.
Great pre-snap. Post-snap.
That's like if you cook an absolutely terrible meal, but I set the table really nice. The table setting was really good. So the meal, if you think about it, wasn't that bad. No.
That to me was like asking a NASCAR driver who crashed on the first turn, Tobin. Yeah, but I started the car really well. Did you see that? I got in the car, started it, I got it onto the track really well.
Check my mirrors. Clear, Oh man, what a year. Anthony Weaver, he was feeling a little candid during his press conference this week. He said, what would be nice? Not having half my defense be signed right before the season starts.
I think whatever we assemble, right, as a group defensively, we need an opportunity to grow earlier, right? We need these people to be brought together earlier than they were. A lot of the guys that we ended up playing with either got here at the start of training camp, were kind of hurt in training camp, missed some of camp. So a lot of the growth we were trying to do as a defense occurred early in the season. When you combine that with the youth movement we were trying to make, that's what's going to happen early. I think eventually it started to click for all of them, right? In terms of what the expectation and what we were trying to get done. But we need to start to get that ball rolling earlier than August.
He's cranking it. He's cranking it, Tobin.
Cranking that up. You're looking a little full there, Solana. You cranking up the excuse machine. His arms do look nice, Anthony Weaver.
Yeah, no wonder. No wonder his forearms are effing jacked. This dude's cranking that excuse machine hard. Stephen Ross, are you listening? Are you listening? You hear it? You hear it? You hear it cranking? You hear it cranking? Chris Greer put me in a bad spot, Stephen Ross. You hear it cranking? Crazy.
He does make sound points. I mean, they signed like cornerbacks off the scrap heap by the end of the end of camp.
100% he's right, by the way. I'm not saying he's not right, but yeah, he's not earning any brownie points with the excuses week 17 when his defense has given up the types of performances that Chase Brown looked like prime Adrian Peterson last week. God. Anthony Weaver. What do you always say, Tobin? Fix it, dude. Then figure it out, man. Figure it out. Everybody's running roughshod over the Miami Dolphins this year. Figure it out, Weaves.
It's tough. This whole thing has just been a calamity. Finally, Jalen Waddle, who, by the way, what's 1,000 yards? He's about 90 away from 1,000 yards if he keeps it up. He needs Quinn Ewers to get him the football a little bit more, but he says he's proud of Quinn Ewers. Here is the Penguin.
I think just his confidence, his poise. He wasn't rattled at all at any point in the game. Obviously he's a natural passer of the ball, so that just comes natural to him. But I think he processed everything real well. I think he played a really good game. Honestly, definitely the circumstances. Him not playing 16, 17 weeks coming in. We really didn't change, none of the offense. So, yeah, man, he played real well. I was proud of him, man.
There you go. Very nice words from a nice man, Jalen Waddle, who is getting crushed in the chat right now. Farticus.
I had a big debate with Crowder earlier this week because he called Jalen Waddle a Toyota Tercel.
Wow. Jesus. Farticus says Waddle is the worst 1,000-yard wide receiver in the NFL. Rome says Waddle is Fugazi. Never shows up in a big game.
Can't you just hear in Waddle's voice? He's like, finally, I can get away from Tua. I thought when I left Alabama, I'd be done with him. I've had to sit here for 5 years. Now, finally, he seems relieved. I'm not going to lie.
Seem relieved. And then they're like, hey, Waddle, we're going to target Theo Weiss a lot in the second half. What do you think about that, dude? It's like, what? You're going to what? All right, whatever, dude. The Dolphins. We talked about this a little bit with Perk, but there is some Lamar Jackson smoke out there. We'll give you some of the details on that. Devon Achane talked about his extension. We'll get into that as well as we roll on here on Game Day Uncensored. Back after this.
The Dolphins will continue to play out the season this AM Miami, an Odyssey sports station.
Powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
The Buccaneers are in Miami Gardens today to face the Dolphins, and they're sure to make things difficult for the Fins, as the Bucs are fighting desperately for a playoff spot. There was some good news this week. Devon Achane has been selected to the Pro Bowl. His reaction?
I feel good, man. It's one of the accomplishments of mine. That's something that I grew up watching, when I was a kid, watching Pro Bowl, seeing, the guys out there, having fun, just, enjoying the stuff that they did across the league. So for me, this, be my first time, I'm excited about it.
Meanwhile, there's a game to be played today. Bradley Chubb was asked, well, how do you stay motivated when the season has been so dismal?
It's the NFL, man. It's games every week, There's people looking at you, evaluating you every week. So it's not even about playing for yourself, it's playing for your teammates, playing for yourself, yes, playing for pride, playing for the last name on your back, playing for your family.
Winding down the season, and we're winding up to talk about it. This is Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Tobin, Solana, Omar Kelly, and Chris Perkins on FM 104.3 WQAM. Miami's sports leader.
Game Day Uncensored on FM 104.3 WQAM is brought to you by the Lexus TX. Room for all your passions in 3 rows of luxurious comfort. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. By Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. When it comes to scoring a rugged new truck, Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is the MVP of selection. Visit EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and start shopping today. Remember, you're always backed by Morse. And by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business. A 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road, Margate.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM. Brendan Tobin alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. Dan Day with us here today as well. You guys will be able to hear Dan Day hosting Game Day Uncensored Postgame edition at 4 p.m. today here on QAM. So stay tuned, everybody, on this football-filled Sunday. We only got a couple of them left. There's only a couple playoff things that need to shake out left. Man, it took a lot of wins to make the play. Other than the AFC North, it's taken a lot of wins to get into the playoffs this year for the AFC. Dolphins not sniffing it, gonna have a losing season. We'll see if it hits double-digit losses here today. But Solana, I want to have a little fun. I love sharpening the harpoons. I've been a little bit more conservative with the heat.
Right.
As of late, I'm watching this Giannis thing with a very cautious eye. Even though I don't think he's going to leave this year, I think that he loves attention. That's what I think.
Did you see him at the end of the game yesterday throwing down the windmill dunk? Yeah.
I did. I didn't find that. I thought that the Bulls got in their feelings a little bit. To be honest with you,
they did. But also, don't be a D-bag at the end of the game.
Did you see what Vucevic said to Giannis or said of the Giannis windmill?
No, I did not. I didn't.
He said, I couldn't believe this was real. I thought this was Sentinel when I first, but he said, I guess he didn't like those reports that said the Bulls wouldn't trade for him.
That's excellent.
Which I thought was funny. I didn't know Vucevic. I'm just used to him killing the Heat. I didn't know that he had that in his bag.
That's excellent, man.
Also, by the way, Anthony Edwards.
Well, I was going to mention, you said you've been a little conservative, sharpening the harpoons, but I did see you fall for the hook, line, and sinker for the Anthony Edwards comments yesterday.
That's the guy. I forget. I'd dump Giannis in a heartbeat. That's the guy I want. Anyway, another story for another day. The Dolphins, though, we talked a little bit about the Joe Burrow stuff last week. He lost his joy, and then he found it again playing the Dolphins.
Yep.
But there was a report this week in this holiday season from the Baltimore Sun, which was basically ripping Lamar Jackson to shreds. It was from their longtime columnist Mike Preston, who was talking about things like Lamar falls asleep in meetings, Lamar stays up late too long while playing video games. They got to move practices in the heat of the afternoon because Lamar Jackson doesn't like morning meetings, that he's sensitive. You can't critique him, that he goes into a shell if anybody says anything. So John Harbaugh has to lie and talk him up when he deserves more heat. And I was like, damn, this is a Lamar Jackson hippie. Mind you, they might still play for the division. They could still win the division. Like this season isn't over for the Baltimore. It's been disappointing. And Lamar Jackson had a hamstring injury that caught up with him, but they're still playing for stuff. And this was a bit of a hit piece that came out. But in the midst of that, it's written that the Ravens should look at possible trades, which could net them 2 or 3 first-round picks. Jackson would love to play in Miami, where quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is no longer the starter, or possibly Las Vegas, where Brady, a partial owner of the Raiders, has shown fondness for him. Baltimore should also draft a young quarterback in the early rounds. And I was just like, the South Florida native would like to leave Baltimore and or would love to, if he was going to be anywhere, be back in South Florida. And I got to tell you, Solana, intrigued. I love me some Lamar Jackson. And the Dolphins and Stephen Ross, it has been rumored long that he wanted to draft Lamar Jackson. Now, they could have gone after Lamar Jackson when he was in his first contract dispute with the Baltimore Ravens. They did not. Of course, they had Tua at the time, and, Tua was not under contract as of yet. But what did you make of this smoke here, Solana?
Well, here I want to start here. Anybody who's saying they wouldn't want Lamar Jackson, Tobin, anybody who genuinely a Dolphins fan who is saying, oh, I don't want Lamar, then, you deserve to be miserable, because not only would Lamar Jackson be the best quarterback that the Miami Dolphins would have since the Marino era ended, he'd be the best player that the Dolphins would have play for this organization since Dan Marino retired. I'm talking player. He's the only one who would be a former MVP. The idea that you wouldn't leverage some of your future draft capital to go get the guy who's only 28 years old, to me is just insane. After watching the quarterback play that we've watched my entire life, 27 guys, I don't have to go through the list. You know the list already by memory. And to say, yeah, no, Lamar Jackson, no, I wouldn't. Like, I can't for the life of me understand how you get to that point. And with all that being said, I don't think there's a chance in hell that Lamar Jackson ends up with the Miami Dolphins next year. I don't think there's a chance in hell the Baltimore Ravens move on from Lamar Jackson. I know the injury concerns. I get it. All right. Like, don't tweet me about the injury concerns. I know that they're there.
Every quarterback that's going to be available is going to have. If the pipe dream of Joe Burrow was a thing, he's missed more action than Tua has. Like, every quarterback that's going to be in some kind of a wonky situation is going to have injury concerns, or can he really win concerns. And some of them may be valid, but some of them may be Matthew Stafford. And you could find the guy and put him in a winning situation and make things happen. But I am with you. I don't understand where the Dolphin fan gets off and is like, no, that's not the guy for me. Because here's the thing. If you were in a situation right now, let's say the Dolphins had they want to get reckless, right? And they want to get their guy. You would rather trade 2 to 3 first-round picks to move up and get Fernando Mendoza, another Miami kid, won the Heisman. Everybody, I'm sure, would be a marketing boom down here, but he is a rookie. You have no idea if those things are going to work out. Lamar Jackson does have a track record. Yes, he got hurt. He's had years where he's banged up. He's also had plenty of years where he has played it. Now, no playoff real success to speak of. He's really been the bronze medalist in the great AFC quarterbacks between Mahomes and Josh Allen. Then it's always Lamar Jackson. Now, it was Mark Andrews' fault last year, but neither here nor there.
Right, but he's one of the only guys in the NFL over the past 5-6 years that has given Mahomes an actual fight. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson in the AFC. That's it. There isn't any other quarterbacks that is actually, and obviously Tom Brady retired. Burrow and Tom Brady are the only quarterbacks that have actually beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs coming out of the AFC. And then Jalen Hurts, the only other one who's beaten him in the playoffs. And you're telling me that Lamar Jackson, who, okay, hasn't gotten over the hump of beating Patrick Mahomes, I realize that, but every time they've played him or met them in the playoffs, it's been a close game. He's the only one that outside of Josh Allen and Burrow that actually stacks up against Patrick Mahomes. And the idea that you wouldn't want that type of game changer on your roster, considering what we've had to endure as Dolphins fans, again, for my entire life, I can't wrap my head around this. People talking about how he's not an elite passer. Okay, yeah, he's not Dan Marino. But tell me who you've had under center that's been Dan Marino, because I'm still waiting, Tobin. I'm still waiting, and we haven't gotten it over 25 years, and I'd be down to avoid getting there for a 26th year. You can bring in Lamar Jackson. You do anything you can. The Dolphins should have done it 3 years ago when he was on the outs with Baltimore, and we convinced ourselves No, he's got the same injury concerns as Tua. No, you don't want to pay a quarterback 40% of the salary cap. No, it's not worth it. Guess what Lamar Jackson did the 2 years after they paid him? 13 wins, 12 wins, playoff appearances, second round of the AFC in the playoffs. And yeah, he lost to Patrick Mahomes. Everybody loses to Patrick Mahomes. At the very least, they were in that game and had a chance at the end. And you're right. If the tight end last year didn't have just the dumbest play that I've seen in a long time, they probably win that game. So I'm so sick of people looking at this and saying, "Oh, you don't even watch Lamar Jackson on a game-to-game basis. You don't know how bad of a passer he is, and he's too reliant on scrambling and using his legs." Like, yeah, he's a dual threat quarterback. That's what he does. That's what makes him so dangerous.
Maybe the greatest running quarterback of all time.
Again, I don't think it's going to happen. I can't for the life of me understand why the Ravens would get rid of Lamar Jackson, even if he wants to.
Well, this is the thing, though, and this is why I find it intriguing, right? You're right. This never happens, and the quarterback always gets chosen because it's very likely that John Harbaugh's probably, if this year doesn't go great, he's probably going to be on the outs, not Lamar Jackson. You always are going to pick the player over the coach. But there's so much past baggage there of like, didn't have a great contract negotiations. They seem to throw dirt on his name in the media a lot up there. And this is home. Like, this is home for Lamar Jackson. You're going to be a turnpike drive away from Broward. You're going to have all your family here to watch you week in and week out. That would be something I'd imagine that would be incredible for him. Now, Omar Kelly, who was going to join us at the top of next hour, Omar, because I was just enjoying my Christmas Eve. I was going to Noche Buena and I saw this. I was like, this is great. So when I tweeted out this article with a little Dan Marino popcorn gif, Omar says, Dolphins name being used. Don't believe the hype. Lamar represents himself. Never grew up a Dolphins fan, which, by the way, he has said on Twitter that Dolphins were his second place team, Omar. Cowboys were first, but the Dolphins were second. No shame in being the bridesmaid. But he thinks that the Dolphins are just being used in this case just to kind of pump up that the fan base is going to get strung along here, that they don't really even have a chance at Lamar Jackson. So we'll ask Omar about it, but what do you think the Dolphins are just getting thrown out here as an obvious tie-in?
Right, but used in what sense? I understand if a player's in a contract year, and Omar has made this point in the past with other players, and it's been a fair point. Being used in the sense to drive up a price, being used in the sense to give the player leverage in some sort of contract negotiation where he's saying, hey, I would love to go back home. Hometown hero, if you don't pay me or if you don't give me the respect I'm deserved, I'll head that way. But how are the Dolphins being used in this situation?
Well, they're being used I guess in his case, they would be being used by the Ravens. Like, get another fan base in a fervor so the Dolphins would have to give a Godfather offer to get the Ravens basically out of hell. Like, the Ravens feeling like they've capped out. They've had this run. It's over for them. But the only way we could do this is to get some fan base in a lather. The Dolphins are in a desperate situation, which, by the way, the Dolphins are in a desperate situation right now. There are no good solutions. Like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about Quinn Ewers or Malik Willis being, although he looked awesome, being the quarterback next year. Like, these are not great solutions for the Dolphins. So if you're given not a get out of jail free card, it's a get out of jail card that's going to cost you a lot of draft capital. But if you're given that lifeline and you have an owner, 86 years old, wanted this guy from the get-go, is going to maybe say, you know what, Mike McDaniel, Champ Kelly, you guys can keep your jobs, ass clowns. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to do what Big Daddy Ross wants. And what I want is Lamar Jackson because I want fun, and I'm tired of nonsense. And that's how you keep your jobs. You want to be a GM, Champ? You want to be a coach, Mike McDaniel? I'm going to meddle, and I'm going to want Lamar Jackson. I didn't get Tom Brady. I wanted Tom Brady. You guys wouldn't get me Tom Brady. Now I want Lamar Jackson. I've wanted Lamar Jackson. He's my other Tom Brady. So I'm going to go for Lamar Jackson now because that's what I want. And Stephen Ross is going to get – I'm tired of looking like a fool sitting next to Garfinkel every year in the luxury box with my stupid glasses going there with my phone. Did you see how close the phone was to his face? Somebody get him a bigger phone. So I'm just saying, if you're Stephen Ross and you just want to have fun and you're tired of the nonsense and you paid all these people to suck, you gave out contract to Tua, contract to Tyreek, contract to Jalen Waddle, contract to Mike McDaniel. None of it paid off. And you were like, you know what I would really like? I don't care. You guys aren't good at drafting anyway. Whoever I say, I've had so many draft picks just completely be useless. I've had 3 first-round picks. None of them panned out. I've had no first-round picks, and my second-round pick went nowhere. I've lost first-round picks for tampering. What do I care about draft picks? I'm almost 90. Let me go get Lamar Jackson. I want fun, and I want it now. Would you blame Stephen Ross if he did that?
No, not at all. And he should do that, by the way. If there's an actual pathway to go get a top 5 quarterback in the NFL who wants to be here, then you literally don't spare a single expense to go get him. And man, like our chat is just talking about how Lamar, he's not good anymore. Like, man, have we been watching the same organization? Have we been watching the same organization? Because you can bring in a top 5 quarterback who is a former MVP. Forget about the rest of the roster. You'll figure it out when you get there. You'll pick up the pieces when you get there. This guy wins 13 games in a season. The Dolphins have never done that in my lifetime. I mean, what?
Now, I know you guys are fired up and you're making very compelling cases, but 2 words of warning for you. Deshaun Watson.
Well, he did break down. There is fairness to that, Dan Day. However, he also had gigantic scandal behind him. That also maybe played into that. Lamar Jackson just seems, video games is his great oh my God, what a terrible guy. Like he wants to, he puts on the headsets and does a little Halo in the wee hours of the night.
But to be fair, I don't think you can compare the longevity of which Lamar Jackson has been elite to the 2 years Deshaun Watson had where he was elite. Like,
I'm just trying to show you there's a high ceiling, but there can also be a very low basement in a situation where you just go out and do whatever it takes.
For sure, but Deshaun also had a career-defining injury prior to the scandal, and then the scandal. Oh, and then he ended up with the Cleveland Browns, who will ruin anybody.
If you were willing to give up 3 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson, let's go back to this. Like, if the Dolphins are going to be, let's say, picking 8th, 9th, and the Giants get the first pick, and they're open for business. Now, by the way, there's a great game today, which is Raiders-Giants. I mean, who the hell wants to win that game? Max Crosby, by the way, is lashing out at the Raiders because they apparently involuntarily shut him down. He doesn't want to be shut down, and they're just like, you're shut down. Which, by the way, going back to the Christian Wilkins thing, if you want to talk about who to believe, Raiders or somebody else, it's always not the Raiders, just so we're clear.
Always.
It's always not the Raiders. But forget that for a second. Let's say the Giants are in that spot, or if somehow the Titans sneak in there, whatever. And that pick is open for business. Would you prefer the Dolphins go and get Mendoza and get the Miami kid as far as you get to start from scratch? He's your dude, your cheap quarterback. There's nothing better than having the rookie QB and you get to build around. Would you rather just start fresh like that, or do you want the established star?
No, I want the established star. And look, I love the Mendoza story. I mean, I genuinely love Fernando Mendoza. I didn't go to Columbus, but I went to a private school in Miami-Dade County. And I know Fernando Mendoza. I don't know him personally, but I'm saying I know that kid. And the idea that kid who grew up in the same areas that I grew up in could be the franchise quarterback. He just won the Heisman, could be the franchise quarterback of this organization. I think that's cool as hell. And I would love that story. But I don't know if he's going to be good. And Tobin, if you bring him in, you're at the very least 2 years away from actually competing if everything breaks right. I mean, look at Drake May. That's best case scenario that the New England Patriots lucked into. Kid had a ton of talent, don't get me wrong, but he didn't look great last year. He had to sit behind a couple bad quarterbacks. The Patriots had to be miserable for a year. And then in year 2, it's been best case scenario with him with a very good head coach who turned that franchise around in the snap of the fingers. But everything broke right for them. And that rarely happens in the NFL. You bring in Lamar Jackson next year. And I realize that you're kind of in a brutal situation in terms of cap, and a lot of numbers have to get worked out by people a lot smarter than any of us. But you already feel like you're a playoff contender. I'm not telling you you're a Super Bowl contender, but you're a playoff contender just with Lamar Jackson. There's a handful of guys, maybe 7 in the NFL. We're talking quarterbacks, maybe 7 quarterbacks in the NFL that you feel like no matter what team they're on, they're at the very least a playoff contender, no matter who they're surrounded by. And the list of that guys goes Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson included, right there. And there's probably 2 or 3 others. Why wouldn't you want to feel like no matter who's on your team, you're going to be competing for a playoff spot at the end of the season? You don't feel that way with the Dolphins ever since Marino retired with who they've had under center. Why wouldn't you want to solve that problem for at the very least the next 3-4 seasons? I don't understand it.
We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. When we come back, Devon Achane has had an incredible season, stacking up with amongst the best statistically in Dolphins history. I mentioned this week about he would also like to get his extension going into this offseason. We'll get into that and more as we roll on here on the show. Game Day Uncensored continues after this.
WQAM, broadcasting live from the Ed Moore
1043 WQAM.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here on FM 1043 WQAM. We're streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, the channel 1043 WQAM on YouTube. On Twitch, it's Miami 1043 WQAM. Go subscribe there today. And you guys can also get us on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn apps in your ears. And, of course, on regular old FM radio. I am still there, too. Let's get to our keys to the game here. Brought to you by Edmore Sawgrass Auto Mall. Shop exceptional Cadillac offers now at the 3-time Cadillac Dealer of the Year, Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. Visit EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. You're always backed by Morse. Solana Devon Achane, he's been awesome so far this season. He has been absolutely insane. He's got over 1,200 yards rushing, knocking on the door of 13. He's got almost 1,700 yards from scrimmage, which is 4th all-time in Dolphins history. Very impressive. He's almost he's got a chance to chase down the cheetah. He won't catch Ricky Williams for number 1 all-time, which was like 2,200 yards. But he's been absolutely fantastic this year. He was asked this week by reporters if he plans to go to the Dolphins about a contract extension in the offseason. This is from the Miami Herald. Achane, when asked about his plans to have his agent Leah Knight of Rock Nation talk to the Dolphins about an extension, he said yes, and then asked if an extension is important to him. He said yes. He will make $1.5 million in the final year of his rookie deal. Do you feel like this is something that the Dolphins resolve and absolutely keep Devon Achane around, or like Perk was saying, if they are going into some down years, do they end up moving on from him and selling high on this incredible year?
Yeah, I just don't know what the play is. And I think, a lot of pieces have to fall before we definitively say, okay, you're going to use Devon Achane as a building block. I want Devon Achane here next year. I think everybody wants Devon Achane here next year. And again, it was Achane or bust all season. He's your lone Pro Bowler. He deserves that honor, by the way. He's going to be the team MVP. It seems asinine to move on from him. But there's a lot of different ways the Dolphins could handle next year. And if you're looking at next year, I mean, it sounds funny coming off last segment where I'm saying throw everything you have to go get Lamar Jackson. Like in that case, then you better bring back Devon Achane next year. Could you imagine, Tobin? Lamar Jackson, Devon Achane as your 1-2 punch. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, you would lose your mind. But
by the way, did you see what Derrick Henry did last night?
Yeah, so good. I'm playing him in our WQAM Fantasy Championship.
Did you win the toilet bowl, by the way? Did you avoid shame?
I did not. I lost the toilet bowl. I got to take ESPN the magazine style. What was it called again? ESPN the magazine body issue. Yeah, body issue style photos.
Damn.
For coming in last place as my punishment. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
How? Okay, can I ask you some? I have questions. If you guys don't, so Solana lost his fantasy, so he's suffering shame.
Yep.
Who takes these pictures? Like, are you going to set up a tripod and airbrush these yourself? Are you going to hire a pro's pro? Is your fiance? Has she been given the news yet? Last week she did not.
Yeah.
And when is payoff? Typically, payoff is before the next season. Yeah.
Before next season, I got to send it in before our draft next year, which typically happens like right around preseason. So yeah, I've got like 8-9 months to get into shape, to not be a fat slob, and I am gonna use my fiance to take these pictures, because Tobin, like, hiring a photographer and having, like, I'm not getting naked in front of somebody. You know what I mean?
They're professionals, though.
Yeah, no, that's weird. They're
weird. Used to the nude body, and I feel like, and I don't know if you're. I know she does business and things like that. And she does decorating. What is or catering?
She's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah. Well, I know that, but I thought she had like a thing that she also did as far as something.
She owns her own medical spa, so she does. She's an esthetician. She does Botox, fillers.
So is she artsy?
Yeah, I'd say she's pretty artsy. Yeah,
okay. I'm just saying This is the reason I'm saying, for a professional, like, yes, there is shame in a stranger taking pictures of you naked. However, They make you look better because they're artists.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But also, there's a lot in my case, Tobin. There's a lot of shame in being naked. There's a lot of shame in being naked in front of a professional.
One's got to be pickleball. You got to do one with pickleball.
The paddle will definitely be will be used. These photos better not be public. By the way, these get sent in that group chat with the fantasy football squad. If those things go public, like I might sign an NDA for these guys, draft up an NDA.
Well, where's the
for
fun
these
of it
guys.
if it's not public? What are they just going to be on?
You think you're getting your hands? You think you're getting your hands on these photos, Tobin?
I'm just asking a question.
Bro.
Hold on. I don't
Hell no,
understand.
bro.
So, like, you guys, this is what I don't understand. You guys do a punishment for fantasy football where you have to take nudes, and the nudes aren't shared with anybody. You guys are they're just confined to the draft room.
They're not nudes. Like, my swiper's not going to be out. This isn't this isn't OnlyFans, bro. Like, I'm not holding the package and holding the pickleball paddle in the other hand here. Like, I'm not starting up the OnlyFans page. Everything's covered, but I'm doing it like if I'm playing the sport of my choosing. Yeah, I'm hoping that these photos never get leaked, because, man, if they do, I'm going to live an actual nightmare from 2 to 6 for a couple months.
Look, I'm going to give you some radio advice. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You leak the pictures for attention. That's just how it's got to work in your career. That's just how it's got to go, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I know this isn't a radio bit per se, but you're going to get badgered by this by Hockman, because he's a badger.
Yep.
And people are going to want to see these.
Yeah.
And there's you might as well just embrace that once these pictures get taken, they're not going to stay just in your group chat. They're going to get leaked, because you're going to have a weasel amongst them.
There will be a weasel, and I already know who it is. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. Why couldn't I just eat a bird like you did?
I don't know. I mean, because I basically just got bleep faced at a GameStop, and I mean, drank in front of a future MVP, and then had to eat this disgusting vermin bird. But I was not naked. I've done embarrassing things where there's been too much of me out on the internet, but I'm telling you, there's no way these are going to stay private, dude. There's going to be leakage.
Not looking forward to it, man. Not looking forward to it. When I lost the toilet bowl, there was that moment of self-reflection of, what did I get myself into? Why am I in this situation?
What are the past punishments you guys have done?
It's been this for 5 years.
Oh, okay. So this is a tradition.
This is a tradition.
Have you ever lost before?
Never.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are you the most public figure in your fantasy league?
Yes. The only public figure. Yeah.
All right. Well,
no bueno.
Good luck keeping those secret, dude. Here's the other thing. Like, you don't want, if your fiance takes him, like if you go on a double date with the Hockmans, you don't want him getting into her ear and being able to get them for the show either.
Right. Yeah. I have that to worry about. There's a lot of layers at play here, Tobin. This is going to be a nightmare. An absolute nightmare.
A lot of layers at play, to be honest with you. We'll take a break.
Layer.
We're going to take a break here on the show. When we come back, we got our inactives for today, and it looks like the Dolphins will be having a shakeup on the offensive line. We'll be back with more after this.
Hey, we want to hear what
let's get back to Game Day Uncensored. The pregame show for real Miami football fans on FM 104.3 WQAM.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM. Let's get to our actives and inactives, which is brought to you by JM Lexus. The December to Remember is here at JM Lexus, a JD Powered Dealer of Excellence winner for 5 consecutive years. Save up to $2,000 with no dealer fee now at JM Lexus. Solana, we will get our wish. Aaron Brewer inactive, so we will get to see the great Andrew Meyer in action.
I don't know if that was our wish.
Well,
it seemed like it was Aaron Brewer's wish the entire time.
He was very excited about it.
Man, Andrew Meyer, man, nobody likes this guy more than me. Like, yeah, well, you get the week off because Andrew Meyer is going to get to play. That sucks though, because Aaron Brewer had this streak of games going. I think it was 58, Tobin. I don't know if you remember the number, but he had played in like a string of games going back a couple seasons. So it's kind of unfortunate for him that's going to end today.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for him. Other inactives for the Dolphins, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Minkah Fitzpatrick remains out with a calf injury. Can't imagine the Dolphins are going to risk that for the rest of the year. Kendall Lamb inactive. Tua Tagovailoa, of course, is the emergency third quarterback. And then Derek McClendon, who they elevated but did not activate today, which is a little bit weird. But they had to add an offensive lineman. And then Taj Washington, he's active. Maybe this is the week. Maybe this is the week for him.
Week 17, Taj Washington week, finally.
Could be. Tristan Wirfs, by the way, is out for the Buccaneers, so pretty big loss there. Hopefully the Dolphins defense can take advantage of that. And then, of course, one of the questions over the week was Jason Sanders. Could he make his debut? He will not. Terrell Dodson, he was questionable with a toe injury going into the week. You had guys who were put on IR. I think Benito Jones was put on IR. I think Isaiah Johnson, who had to get ACL, which is rough for him. He was having a nice year on special teams. So, yeah, a lot of moves made for this Miami Dolphins team, but Brewers definitely the most notable as far as what they're going to have to get used to on this one, because you not only have a rookie quarterback, but you have an offensive line that's kind of led by Aaron Brewer. And now they got to do it with another young guy. You got two basically rookie. Well, I mean, Meyer's not a rookie, but he really is a rookie. And he's now out there with Savatania. Gonna be an interesting one to see. This is gonna be interesting to see how that chemistry is, because I mean Meyer's been out for a long time. I don't know how much rapport he's necessarily got with Quinn Ewers. So that'll be an interesting one to check out today, Solana, on how this offensive line holds up for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? We haven't spent too much time talking about the Buccaneers, but man, like they're actually playing for something. They win this game today. And they're playing for the right to go to the playoffs next week, hosting Carolina, who burned them a week ago by 3 points. So if you're genuinely looking to see, hey, what can we take away from the final 2 weeks? Well, at the very least in this game, you're going to find out, hey, how does this team right now, how does some of these guys we've spent time talking about stack up against another team that's going full strength, that needs to win this game today? And I think he falls under that category.
Yeah, and I think for the Dolphins' perspective, like, you know, we saw last week, ultimately the elite talent rose to the top against this defense and kind of carved them up. And so you look at some of the weapons that they've been able to throw out there this year, and, you know, they just got Mike Evans back at the end of the year. Yeah, I mean, like, I think this is going to be, I guess, I get an intriguing test, you could say, for the very least, to just go out there, but no Minkah for your defense doesn't really set up well. Like, if the Bucs blow this game, to be honest with you, their fan base should be furious. This feels like it's all set up. It's not like they're going to Elements. They're basically taking a little road trip down here. It sets up for them pretty, and you also can set yourself up to at least have some life next week against the Carolina Panthers. So there is a lot of pressure on them, but I don't necessarily know how confident I am in the Dolphins being able to play spoiler to this team.
Well, this team started out as like a juggernaut. They were beating some of the best teams in the league, and then it kind of all unraveled for them. They lost 5 of 6, and they're in this situation now because of that stretch. But Tobin, I don't know. Do you feel like this is still a good Bucks team, and they kind of were just set back because of injury? Did they overachieve earlier in the season? Are they really just kind of average, somewhere in between? Because I haven't really made up my mind yet. Like, I loved watching the Buccaneers earlier in the season, and I thought Baker Mayfield was putting together like an MVP type of season. And then, he was throwing to pretty much nobody. You lose Mike Evans. Like, their entire receiving core went down. So I know Bucky Irving missed some time as well. I don't know exactly how to feel about this Buccaneers team. If they are at full strength, does this iteration of the Miami Dolphins even genuinely have a chance against what at one point this season was an elite team?
Well, they're nearly like touchdown underdogs at home against this team. So I don't think Vegas is telling you they have a lot of faith in the Dolphins. I did think that the start of their year, not that I thought it was fake, but I did think that it just got so much attention because they won so many thrillers. Like those first 4 to 5 weeks, it just felt like every single game was this dramatic comeback for them, which, obviously will put a lot of attention on you, and everyone's going to be like, oh man, is this Baker Mayfield? He's just got the ability to bring his team back. So maybe it was just highlighted a little bit more than it probably should have been. But I mean, dude, they've had 3 straight divisional games. They've lost every single one of them. And this is a division. I think if you asked about people and you said, hey, who's got the most talent in their division, people would say probably far and away the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they've completely yacked on themselves the last 3 weeks. So something's not going all the way right there. So maybe it's not a layup for them, but this feels like the Dolphins are slump buster city for them to get them ready for a monster game next week.
Yeah, it does. This is their get right game. This is their get right game to hopefully clinch a playoff berth next week. What was there any thought that the Dolphins would revert their situation at quarterback and go back to Tua in your mind after last week? Was there any of that in your head?
No, the damage is done. Like, you can't, unless there's like an injury and unless Quinn Ewers gets his ribs broken and the next week it's like, do we really hate Zach Wilson? That's the only situation I could see that happening. I can't see in a scenario where Quinn Ewers is available that you make that whole dog and pony show about convicted quarterback play, and then you go back to 2 weeks later. Like, do you want to talk about, like, you might as well just say I'm the biggest fraud of all time as a head coach? Like, that would basically put you in the running for that. So no, I didn't think that was a possibility. I just don't think that if you're Mike McDaniel and Quinn goes and has a performance like that, I think most people looked at it as an indictment on the coach, not the quarterback. We mentioned it was his first start. You got to give the kid somewhat of a break. It wasn't great. It wasn't this inspiring performance, but it was also his first time out there. And so hopefully this is a better week. Maybe he feels even more comfortable and they're able to just be consistent. That's really what I want to see, Solana. Like, because what's going to infuriate me is if the Dolphins can go blow for blow, and that's kind of what I feel like is going to happen, is that it's going to look like they can go blow for blow with this team for 2 quarters, and then it all unravels on them, because that's just the tone of this season, is like they can hang around just enough before something catastrophic happens and they fall apart. And that's what a bad team will typically do, but also just a poorly coached team. And so I think if Mike McDaniel wants to prove anything on a performance like today, is like, hey, just even if you go out there and you lose 24-21, but it was a consistent performance throughout, and the Bucks just got the better of you.
Yeah, because they're better, right? They're the better team.
Yeah, I think people could accept that. But if you go out there and this is another one where it's close, but you just completely wet the bed again in the middle of the game, I just don't know how much more tolerance people can stand that from the head coach. And then, you're talking about a double-digit loss season for him. And at that point, I just don't know what the arguments are in favor of him other than, well, I don't know who to go get and who's more established out there. It's like, well, okay, I guess. So your reasoning is maybe we'll find somebody who can't get a 10-11 loss season. Like, that's not a very hard mark for most teams to pass in the NFL. So I think that's what I'm hopeful for today is like Quinn Ewers, for him to play better. I am a little bit nervous about how this secondary holds up against the Baker Mayfield Buccaneers and the weapons that they have, because the last couple of weeks it's starting to feel like we're seeing some real chinks in the armor for this Dolphins defense. But like, look, they do. It's not like they're a 9-win team. They have one more win than the Dolphins too.
What I do think I need to see, though, today, Tobin, because you had mentioned with Perk earlier, Chop Robinson, what's the deal there? Kenneth Grant, what's the deal there? What have those guys shown you that you feel confident moving forward that they're building blocks? Like, I want to see those guys close out the season strong. Forget about Quinn Ewers for a second. And this, to me, provides that opportunity in this game where I think you can get to Baker Mayfield. I think that's how you keep Baker, because he's willing to scramble. He's willing to use his legs and pretty much put his shoulder down and bulldoze anybody. If you can try to contain him in the pocket and force him to throw, while he's feeling pressure, I think that's where this defense can keep the offense in positive situations throughout most of the game to hopefully go make some plays. At the very least, get my guy Riley Patterson in range to give you some points on the board. But I got to see Chop close out the season strong. Zach Sealer has had a much better second half of the season than the first half. But has Zach Sealer really been impressive this year, Tobin? Not at all, man. Like, he got paid, and there's been maybe one or two performances where you say, yeah, those were quality performances, but he should be stringing those together weekly. That's the type of money he's making now. That's what I'm looking for. Bradley Chubb, your contract next year is not guaranteed. You want to be back here next season? Could restructure. I know he doesn't, but the Dolphins could restructure his deal and turn money into incentive-based contracts and just reshuffle things to be back here next year. Well, you got to show us something at the end of the season as well. Like, those are the players I'm looking at today, especially on the defensive side, because those were the guys we talked about coming into the season more than anybody who we were going to rely on. And it hasn't really felt like you've relied upon them all season the way you thought you would.
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of what Anthony Weaver's frustration is like, he comes into a situation where it's basically like you got a refurbished young defensive unit, and you got to get Kenneth Grant up to speed, Jordan Phillips up to speed, Zeke Biggers up to speed, Dante Trader out there, a lot of guys that you're playing. And it's good that these guys have all gotten experience. I think the thing that's unfortunate for Anthony Weaver, if the Dolphins don't bring back this regime, is he's going to be probably looking at guys that may have good futures. Now, to the Kenneth Grant and Chop Robinson thing, I agree with Perk. Like, I don't know if these are game wreckers. I don't know. Maybe they will be. Like, Christian Wilkins didn't have the greatest rookie season in the world, and he turned out to be a really good player for the Miami Dolphins. So maybe that'll happen with Kenneth Grant. Chop Robinson is one where, you'd like to see a little bit more giddy up. And the idea that they stifled his snaps to start the year, well, man, that looks stupid, because you traded one guy in Jalen Phillips in the middle of the year, and Matthew Judon you cut before the end of the season. So if this was a season all about growth and you want to put the label of, well, the rotation wasn't quite right because we had so many guys, well, I'm sorry. Usually the best guy is going to play. And if you guys were limiting snaps for a guy you planned on trading and a guy who was basically on the way out of the league for this guy, you either just didn't trust him or, you truly mismarked on who the best players were for your team to succeed. So I am hopeful that he has a better end of the year. With Zach Sealer, just to close out, I do buy a little bit that he was carrying a lot of these young guys. We have seen 4.5 sacks over the last 3 weeks. He does look more like himself. Is it elite? No, it hasn't been elite, but I think that he's, if he can finish out here with like 3 more sacks in the last 2 weeks, you'd look back at his numbers and be like, not too terrible compared to where he has been for an interior lineman to be there.
Yeah, but I don't even pay attention to the stats so much because I never thought he was the kind of guy who was putting up gaudy stats in the first place, Tobin. He was just consistently a pain in the ass for opposing running backs and quarterbacks. And I'm with you, by the way. Much better performances over the past couple weeks. You finally got over the sack slump, and you've been able to tweet out Sealer and on up a couple times. Like, I'm with you, but I don't know. I mean, I was looking to him to really take over that Calais Campbell role, to really be the guy in the middle of the interior of that defensive line. And look, I mean, you paid him a lot of money, and I was just expecting more of a consistent season out of him.
Understood. I think all critiques are fair of him. I think he has shaken the fat cat allegations that have been levied, but is it good enough? That's another story. I think that, if I had faith in guys who I'd want back on defense next year, and I think they're going to be effective players, he's definitely one of them. Because a lot of the guys in the secondary, there are question marks there. Minkah for sure. Jordan Brooks, like, it feels to me like a Sealer, Jordan Brooks, Minkah Fitzpatrick led defense. Maybe he's on the bottom of those 3 with the way that the year has shaken out, but I will give him somewhat of a pass based on the guys he's had around him. I mean, basically people learning the league next to him, and it looked bad. It was a terrible start to the season. So he's going to need to bounce back in a big way next year. There's not going to be a lot of tolerance for a slow start next year because he won't have that excuse. But you have seen a guy look more normal than he had at least this last month of the season. We'll take a break. When we come back, Omar Kelly, Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald, he joins us next.
Hurricanes basketball plays
QAM FM and HD1 Miramar, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and WQAM AM Miami, an Odyssey sports station.
Powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
Last home game of the season for the Dolphins. The Buccaneers have come down from Tampa Bay to take on the Fins. The Bucs are going to play extra tough today. They've got a playoff spot on the line. Not all was bad in Dolphins land this week. Devon Achane made the AFC Pro Bowl team. So that's good. What's not good is the way the Dolphins have played this season. Darren Waller, I'm trying to get up for the remaining 2 games of the Fin season.
If you let the world dictate your perspective, people are going to tell you that these games we're playing don't mean anything. But you have to decide and shape your perspective of, all right, everything that I do has meaning in it. If I choose to find it, if I choose to look at it that way. So that's what we're just trying to communicate across the locker room with guys.
Quinn Ewers is going to start. Mike McDaniel talks about his game.
I was pleasantly surprised in that I've learned over the years that don't have your expectations shaped directly by practice in that particular regard. He was doing a very good job getting everyone aligned, going play to play and having command, but you expect kind of a downshift in the game, and I didn't see that.
Dolphins and Buccaneers today, and we're getting ready for it on Game Day Uncensored. The pregame show for real Miami football fans with Tobin and Solana, Omar Kelly, and Chris Perkins on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami's sports leader.
Game Day Uncensored on FM 104.3 WQAM is brought to you by the Lexus TX. Room for all your passions in 3 rows of luxurious comfort. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. When it comes to scoring a rugged new truck, Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is the MVP of selection. Visit EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and start shopping today. Remember, you're always backed by Morse. And by JM Lexus. JM Lexus has the best team in the business. A 4.8 Google rating with over 22,000 reviews and counting. JM Lexus, West Sample Road, Margate.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on FM 104.3 WQAM. Brendan Tobin alongside Alejandro Solana here with you for one more hour as we're getting you set for Dolphins and Bucs. As the Dolphins have a couple of games left in this NFL season, they're going to try and play spoiler today to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's that time of the show where we welcome in our guy Omar Kelly, Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald. Good morning, Omar. How are you?
I'm good, gentlemen. How are you doing this morning?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling fantastic, especially with those Lamar Jackson rumors, dude. Tell me about it. Come on, let's go, dude.
I heard your Lamar Jackson rant earlier in the show, and it might inspire a column because you're absolutely right. Steve Ross wanted him in the draft. They probably should have took a shot at him when he was a restricted free agent. He had to give up 2 first-round picks for him.
Probably,
now,
Omar. Probably. They should have.
Hey, listen. Understand that the NFL was colluding at that time.
Yep.
And everybody in the league, the NFL, an independent investigator has investigated it and acknowledged that the league was colluding at the time against Lamar Jackson. No punishment. Nobody's doing anything about anything. But, bad. Slap on the wrist. Hey, guys, don't collude, okay?
Ridiculous.
That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. But yes, you're right. If Ross was a smart owner, he would have said, "Screw your colluding. I'm going to go get my quarterback."
I just think he deserves it, and especially if you're gonna, I don't know what the hell's gonna happen with McDaniel and Champ Kelly, but let's say these guys want to keep their jobs. If I was Stephen Ross, enough of this. I let people do what I want. What about me? Why don't I get to do what I want?
You know what? I 1,000% agree with you, and I have been flirting and thinking about writing that for a couple of years because I've heard some backdoor rumors about the things that Ross went to do, and not like in hindsight after we know that the players are stars, but like on draft day. And I would say 90% of the time he's right. And that's a sad state of thinking, considering you've actually employed professionals to actually do this job, and you as just a regular person and a fan would have outperformed them. And I'm sure most of us feel like we probably could have outperformed them. I damn sure feel like I probably could have outperformed them. But for the owner, the guy who's writing the checks and writing big fat ones, and now probably going to have to write a big fat one for a quarterback to go away, for him to know that the things that he wanted, and he thinks that some of the things that he wanted initially, his franchise would have ended up better if he had done it. That's got to be disheartening. And and he's probably at the point where he's like, screw it, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
He should.
And that's what I wanted to ask you, Omar. What's your gut feeling of how Stephen Ross is going to play this offseason? Is it going to be, hey, I'll be patient, one more regime change, one more chance at rebuilding this thing properly? Or he's just going to say, bleep it, we're going all in right now because I don't want to wait for another maybe process to work out?
If you would have asked me before Tobin's rant, I would have told you fire everybody, start fresh. But Tobin's rant earlier in the show probably inspired me to basically say, you know what? Let me keep these guys and just have them play puppet for me. And I actually do what I want to do because these guys are just lucky to have jobs.
Yep. Like,
that power and that control might work for just one season, and you see how it play out.
Yeah, just have some fun. If you're Stephen Ross, and like, then you leave it to your kids or your in-law, whoever the hell's in charge. Whatever. I gave it a shot. You know, at least I had some fun.
Until he dies, he's not leaving it to his family until he dies.
So then you leave it to Garfinkel. Tell him what to do. But I'm having fun this year. I'm kicking back. You know, let's get crazy.
Let's do Jerry Jones. Let's
exactly,
dude. Draft. Yeah,
I'm all for it.
And by the way, I actually think Jerry Jones is one of the top drafters in the NFL, by the way, for the record. The Jones family. They can outdraft the Dolphins without question.
Well, you're setting a low bar there, to be fair, Omar.
Okay, all right. They're one of the top 5 drafting teams in the NFL, in my opinion. Now, the other stuff, I don't know about all the other stuff, but the Dallas can draft.
So this Andrew Meyer, everybody's talking about this. This guy's he's like this mythical creature that nobody's been able to see outside of camp. Like, is he good? Everybody's like, oh, Teron Armstead's talked him up. Brewer's giving him the flowers. Is he going to be able to step in and be effective?
I watched him the first couple of weeks of training camp before he got hurt, and I was like, damn, he's kind of good. He's like the 6th offensive lineman, in my opinion, on the team. I thought he was going to play a very pivotal role in terms of being the interior backup at all 3 spots. However, there's a lot of rust from having all season off. Maybe he's not in NFL conditioning. And also, he's going up against Vita Vea. I'm not sure I can name a better nose tackle in the NFL. Like, your first game that you're ever going to play in a regular season is against the best nose tackle in the NFL. Jeez. Like, how is that fair? Like, you know,
I completely forgot about that.
For a fair evaluation of me, like, this guy is 350 pounds of beef and muscle, and you can't block him one-on-one. Now, in fairness, I was not surprised that Brewer did not play because I saw him. I waited in the locker room because I needed to talk to him after the game last week, and honestly, he could barely move because he was hiding out till everybody left, and I was like, yeah, y'all can't hide him from me. And when I did see him, I was like, holy crap, he could barely move. So I pretty much knew that he wasn't going to play. But it's sad to see his 55 game starts and 58 game playing streak is over. But at this point in the season, do you want to go out there with a neck injury and suffer a more catastrophic injury, something that forces you to go on rehabbing all off season? I don't know if that's a wise thing to do. So I commend the Dolphins for they're cautious, and Mike McDaniel is always more cautious than he is aggressive. However, doesn't this fit into our tanking philosophy of Do we really need to win this game?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it kind of goes back to the decision to start Quinn Ewers. I still think they're lying to us about how he gives you a better chance to win. I mean, it's a bunch of BS. It's just somebody you drafted, and you want to see if there's any truth or if there's any possibility that he's got anything that makes you consider him for the future.
I would agree with your statement. He doesn't necessarily give you the better chance to win. I've talked to players, and Tua gives you the better chance to win. However, Tua does limit your offense more than the other two quarterbacks would, because teams have figured out Tua's arm has lost his fastball, and so they play him a certain way, and that's an extremely difficult way to play football, where everybody's playing you in zone. Your safeties do not pass 40 yards downfield, and basically are forcing Tua to throw into these windows and jumping every pass. You cannot survive like that, and you certainly can't run a hurry-up offense like that. So that's why the change was made. Why Ewers over Zach Wilson? Well, because we got to know what the future is. But a lot of decisions are going to be made and should be made. Benito Jones put on IR. Okay, well, Zeke Biggers, you're going to get a whole lot of run, big boy. And I love Zeke Biggers. I think he's done amazing compared to what the other rookies have done. He's redefined his body. He's the being benched the whole season kind of motivated him. And now I'd argue to you he's better than he's better than the first round pick and the fifth round pick. So, and props to them for his development. Props to these young players. They're just going to be thrown in there, and this is a sink or swim situation.
What do you think is gonna be, I guess, your early read on the Devon Achane contract extension? Do you feel like that's a no-brainer for them, or do they have to think about the future and are we gonna burn out his prime and for nothing?
Here's how you need to think about it. Okay, first factor: name me the contract extension that has paid off for you in the last 4 years. Okay, put that on pause. Okay, second factor, running backs are like used tires. You use them up and then you change them. How much more tread does Devon Achane, a very small running back, have left on his tires? Okay, put that to the side. Now, third factor, he's going to want a James Cook-esque deal, which means $30 million in guaranteed money, $50 million in fake money. Okay, now put that to the side. Who is going to be coaching this team, and what type of back do they like? What type of running game do they like? Are they a power running team, or are they a gadget running team? Well, Devon Achane is a gadget running back. So that's a lot of factors.
So that's
a ton of factors.
You would imagine only.
Hold on. Let me give you one more. Now, I could either give him that $50 million, $30 million of it real, or I can make him play on a fourth-year option. He'll get playing time incentives for $4 million. That brings his salary up to $4 million, and then I could franchise tag him for 13, and so I'm paying 17 for 2 years. He'd be pissed. He'd sit out all of training camp, but he'd show up for the regular season. Maybe not in the greatest shape, but hey, if he wants to sit it out, he's just impacting his money. So do I want to pay him $30 million over 3 years, or do I want to pay $17 million over 2 years?
You also have to feel like because you mentioned the extensions, like they kind of got to get a little more ruthless with this stuff, right?
You would think, depending on who and how they're running the organization. This group certainly wasn't ruthless. They tried to be, but not too many people strong-arm them for extensions, and that's just the reality of it too. I mean, Tua's situation, people always want to say, "Oh, we shouldn't give Tua an extension." You realize Tua wasn't going to participate in training camp until he got his money, correct? So that was going to hold the offense back. You think Mike is trying to hold the offense back in coming off a 2023 season? Like, no, that's not what he wasn't going to do. That he wanted to speed up. He wanted to see if the progression could continue. Remember, Tua didn't participate in all of OTAs, and this organization justifies the fact that they got off to a slow start last year on the fact that Tua missed a lot of work, and all the starters missed a lot of work, and then Tua got injured. So, that's why the offense didn't really do what they did. Now, fast forward to this year, and the offense is a little bit worse. So obviously Mike is not a magician, So, but that's why they paid Tua, because they didn't want to hold the offense back. But now, obviously, it looks like a mistake considering he's a pitcher who's lost his fastball.
But Omar, going back to the HN situation, how can you possibly sell a fan base if you don't go out and land the Burrows or the Lamar Jacksons of the world, which again I still think is just a massive long shot. I can't imagine Lamar is actually going to leave Baltimore. How could you? I mean, maybe, but I'm just telling you, I feel like it's a long shot. How could you sell the fan base on next year if you're moving on from the guy that you allocated all that money to, and you don't pay your lone Pro Bowler from the season prior, which in this case would be Devon Achane this year?
Who cares about not paying your lone Pro Bowler? Like, really?
I think it matters for the fan base. Like, hey, the one guy that had a successful season, you're not gonna pay. Like, okay. I think it matters.
Let me ask you this question: how many fans, put a number on it, do you think are going to renew their season tickets? Because they got to do it now. Renew their season tickets because Devon Achane got re-signed to a $50 million deal.
Right now, he's the only player fans actually want to go see.
You didn't answer my question. Give me the most aggressive guesstimate on how many fans will say, "Oh, damn, I got to re-sign my season ticket. I got to renew my season tickets because Devon Achane got signed." Big deal.
I think it's
2 years.
I think it's a lot more than you think. I think that's a player.
1,000?
Maybe.
Is it 1,000?
Maybe.
Two?
No, I don't know about 2.
It's not 2,000.
It's probably closer to 1,000. And I'd take the under.
Honestly, I'm not moving for anything but 5,000. You're not making me do anything but 5,000. I get you a Harbaugh. 5,000. Do 5,000 buy tickets, season tickets? Yeah,
easy.
I get you Lamar. Do 5,000 buy season tickets?
Easy.
Yeah. I get you Burrow. Do 5,000 buy season tickets?
Easy.
Yeah. I get you Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson. Do 5,000 buy season tickets? Probably not.
No.
I go trade up 3 first-round picks and get you Mendoza. Do 5,000 buy season tickets?
80,000 buy season tickets for Mendoza.
Oh, come on. There aren't that many Cubans here. How many with Mendoza?
That's a lot of them, though, dude.
Omar,
let me amend that.
Omar, there's 80,000 Cubans in my neighborhood alone. I think you're miscalculating.
Let me amend that. There aren't 80,000 Dolphin fans who are Cuban. Okay, does Mendoza move the needle for you?
Yeah, I think it does because he was a Heisman. He's a Heisman winner, regardless of where he's from. He's a Heisman, and he's going to be the first quarterback taken off the board. I'm just not comfortable sacrificing that much capital in terms of future draft assets to go get a player who, again, I think is a great player. I don't know if it's going to translate to the NFL. I don't know, but I know that Lamar Jackson does. I've seen it.
Dude, who cares?
You know that,
let's do something reckless, Lana.
Do you know that all but 6 of Mendoza's touchdown passes have come against bad teams? Not even the good teams. I saw that stat the other day, and I got to look over to him, and I watched a couple of games, and I'm okay. I don't feel for him like I felt for Cam Ward. I'm like, okay. And I actually feel like the Oregon quarterback might be a tad better. Might have a little bit more upside. But that's a conversation for later, because we might just go Kirk Cousins and patch this thing. We might just go Deshaun Watson, and patch this thing. We might just go sign the Green Bay backup and just patch
Willis.
This thing.
Great game last night.
So we got a long way to go. We don't even know who the GM is. We don't even know who the head coach is. We have no clue who the quarterback is. We have no clue who the defensive coordinator is. Here's my advice to Dolphin fans. Enjoy the next 2 weeks, because that's the last 2 weeks you're going to have of Dolphins football till August of next year. Enjoy the next 2 weeks. Do not expect a win, because it does not benefit them to win, because they need a top 10 pick, because they need to use that to trade up to get a quarterback if they need to get a quarterback. And don't expect wins. Expect to see weird substitutions at weird times. So when you see that Quentin Bell, Cameron Good defensive edge performance in the third quarter on third downs, do not be surprised, and just let it ride.
Secret
Just
tank
let
agent
it
number
ride.
1 is Theo Weiss.
Oh, nah. I mean, Theo Weiss has chemistry with Quinn Ewers, so
Sure.
let it be. I mean, and
Sure.
I honestly, if you played Nick Westbrook-Akine probably like 12 snaps the rest of the season, you lose a 4th round pick. So you'd be an idiot to do that.
Yeah.
So enjoy Theo Weiss while he's here. He's not gonna turn into Preston Parker. I mean Preston Wilson.
Preston Wilson.
Yeah.
Omar,
Wasn't it Preston Williams? Preston Wilson was the Marlins center fielder.
Preston Williams, is that what his name was? Yeah, he was actually good till he got hurt. Yeah,
there was a time where we thought Devontae Parker and Preston Williams were going to be our 1-2 wide receivers for 2 decades.
If I didn't learn that Preston Williams was really simple and couldn't stop smoking weed, I would have told you that was going to be the future of the Miami Dolphins.
Man.
Like I would have bet on it because the kid was talented, and then Christian Wilkins hurt him, jumping on a touchdown, and he broke his foot, and then he never really came back from that. Then he suffered another injury, and literally he couldn't not smoke weed 10 minutes after practice. Like,
by the way, weed
is legal in the NFL now. By the way,
which it should be.
Omar, my promise to you, by the way, I'll tolerate Theo Weiss. I'm not going to enjoy Theo Weiss.
No. There are a lot of other things you should tolerate, like the running back, Jalen Wright. Tolerate that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, enjoy Theo Weiss. Enjoy it. Tolerate Ife Melifonwu. Like, tolerate. Tolerate more KJ Britt snaps, but enjoy Theo Weiss. He'll give you a little hope.
We enjoy you, buddy. Thanks for the time.
All right, guys.
There you go, Omar Kelly. Go follow his work. Go read it in the Miami Herald. Can't wait for that column. And always appreciate Omar giving us some time here on Game Day Uncensored. We will take a break. More to come here on the show. Back after this.
Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans on FM 1043 WQAM.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's game day, Uncensored here on FM 1043 WQAM. Brought to you by the Lexus December to Remember sales event. Get offers on select models now through January 5th. As we wind down to this Miami Dolphins matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's get into some of the action on today's game. And we like to call this segment a little thing we like to call Porpoise Props, ladies and gentlemen.
It's time for
I don't know about you, but that looked like money.
Porpoise Props.
Hopefully you didn't jinx us.
Props.
I got to update that damn open. Sorry, Tua. Don't need you in there anymore, dude.
Can we get Quinn in there? Can we get Quinn Ewers in there, Tobin?
Does he have a money-type pun on any one of his quotes?
No, but he does feel like all his pre-snap stuff has been excellent.
He did say that.
Yeah.
He's very fond of it. He's very fond of it. Everybody says Quinn Ewers is very cocky, very confident in his abilities. You like Quinn Ewers to record 325 more or passing yards, Solana, at plus 1,400?
You know, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Just having a day where he just is out there dealing.
Playing from behind.
Just throwing up garbage yards.
Let him sling it. Second half hopefully looks a lot more competent. I mean, it can't look much worse than it did last week, but just playing from behind and let him sling the pigskin around, Tobin. I don't hate it, but I don't think I'm taking a flyer on that.
Oh, man. First touchdown score, Devon Achane is plus 450. If you think he's going to be the first Dolphin to get into the end zone today, or the first overall to score today, you know, Bucky Irving is second on that, plus 650.
I do like last week. I told you that I really liked anytime touchdown for Quinn Ewers.
Yep.
And, well, obviously it didn't work out. But I think I'm going to ride that until the end of the season. At some point, I just feel like Quinn Ewers is going to get into the end zone. Maybe a little bootleg. Maybe you get down in the red zone. He takes off with his feet. Maybe it's a QB sneak, like a little tush-push action with Quinn Ewers. I just feel like at some point, he's gonna find the end zone. So
He fell on his face though, dude.
He did. That was not pretty. But I just feel like at plus 700, it's worth taking the little flyer, Tobin, over the next couple games.
Let's see. Over under on receptions for Jalen Waddle's 4.5. Devon Achane's 3.5. Darren Waller's 2.5. Malik Washington, who did score a touchdown last week. Do you like Malik Washington to get in the end zone today, or do you think they've kind of burned that one, that play out?
Man, we did anytime touchdown for Malik Washington several weeks, never hit, and then at the end of the season, guy finally gets into the end zone.
Yep.
It looked like the type of plays we were expecting to see when Tyreek Hill went down, right? Like just get him out into the open field, have a blocker out in front of him, and he was going to find a way to get in.
Definitely felt like there was going to be more from him this year. I'm not blaming him because, I mean, like, obviously this offense has just not been as impressive, and it's basically a Devon Achane or bust offense. But I thought we were going to see a little bit more from Malik Washington this year, and we have not. It has not been a super impressive year. Not that I need him cut. Like, I think he'll be fine on a roll with this team, but I didn't. It was a little disappointing, a little bit of a letdown on some of the hype from camp on him. But he is able to, like, you get him in space, he's able to do some things. By the way, the Dolphins don't have one thing should be known. D. Eskridge hurt also, so he's really good for all those. He's not very durable either, but when he does play, I mean, he gives the Dolphins great returns.
Yeah, but out for the they put him on IR, right? He's out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, I think he messed. I think it was his toe, I want to say.
Yeah.
So that was tough. Zach Sealer's 2-1 to get a sack. Job Robinson is plus 250. You know, Jordan Brooks, he's plus 450 to get a sack today. If you to get over half a sack today, if that wets your whistle at all, Solana.
It does. It does. I want to see more from that unit. It does wet my whistle. I'll tell you what I have put in already for today. I put a parlay, Devon Achane and Bucky Irving anytime touchdowns.
Okay.
And I think that was when I had it in earlier, plus 300. It's still plus 300. So I threw that in already. That's in. Riley Patterson over 1.5 field goals is back to plus money, plus 115. I've been riding that all season long, and I think I'm gonna hit that as well today at plus 115.
It's he's had a great year. A fantastic take by you. There's no doubt about that, Solana. He has come back. Any action you like today, Dan? Anybody in particular you like as far as the gambling goes?
I like that Jordan Brooks sack over under right there. I thought that's pretty good. I think Jordan Brooks wants to atone for getting kind of burnt the other day against Cincinnati. And that's when I knew things were going south of the game. I was like, oh man, our best player just got schooled.
Yeah, I felt terrible for him too, Dan, because he was playing with I think he had a bad knee and a bad foot going into that game, and he looked like it. I'm just like, oh, this guy. But when you've been a wrecking ball and you've been banging into everybody for 16 weeks, I'm not mad at him. It's just you can tell at 1.2 on the one that they got miscommunication and he's trying to go cover it in the end zone and the dude was wide ass open. You're just like, ugh. So I felt bad for Jordan Brooks.
And I like Malik Washington touchdown because, Mike McDaniel, if one play works once, just run it into the ground until it gets up 100 times. And then also a Darren Waller touchdown anytime.
All right. You'll hear Dan Day coming up today at 4 o'clock for Game Day Uncensored Post-Game Edition. We'll take a break. We'll predict the game ball and hand this thing off to our second to last Dolphins game of the season. We'll be back with more for this.
John Sadak here from Westwood One, NFL
time for more of the Game Day Uncensored Postgame Show on FM 104.3 WQAM, Miami Sports Leader.
All right, welcome back. Game Day Uncensored. Let's get to our player to watch and predict the game ball here, brought to you by your Southern Lexus dealers and the Lexus December Remember sales event. Get offers on select models for a limited time. Learn more at Lexus.com. Solana, you were very dapper. What are you, Clark Kent, dude? What the hell was the switcheroo? Where are you going?
Nah, I just dressed business-like for our last segment, you know, trying to get a little more luck for our Hard Rock Bet segment, man. We're trying to win some money. Figured I'd throw on a suit and tie.
Fair enough.
I'm calling FIU Liberty at 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus. So I got to.
Oh, okay. All right. Basketball?
Yeah, basketball, FIU Liberty, big Conference USA matchup at FIU later today, 2 p.m. ESPN Plus. I know everybody's gonna be watching the Dolphins, so I'm not even.
Some people may want to put a little side action on the Panthers.
All right.
You know, go check them out. Go check out Solana today, man. I was like, I don't think there's a Heat game, but that makes all the sense in the world. All right, who do you got, Solana? Let's. You picked A-Chan last week. I'm not letting you do it again. That's either for me or Dan Day. So, Damn. So you got to pick somebody else besides A-Chan.
I'm gonna go with Quinn Ewers today.
Okay.
You'll allow me the rook. I'm gonna go Quinn Ewers. Look, I'm not expecting 325 or more yards from Quinn Ewers, but I do think there was a lot that he showed in the first half last week to build on, and I think with an extra week of practice, with the fact that, and look, the center not being healthy, Aaron Brewer not being healthy, does worry me a little bit, but just the fact that second week of practice, second week of taking reps with the ones, he's going out there with really, in this game, zero pressure to produce. Like, the season's over. Last week was his first start, but this week, I don't know, like just the kind of like that weight of everybody's watching you to see how you're going to perform is off of him. I like the idea of him having a much better, consistent performance from the start of the game to the end of the game. I think the Dolphins will be playing down most of this game because it means so much to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which could lead to more of Quinn Ewers just slinging it and seeing what he's really got. So I'm going with Quinn Ewers today.
What about you, Dan Day? You guys can hear Dan Day today on the post-game edition, 4 p.m. right here on QAM. Who do you think gets the game ball today if the Dolphins win, Dan?
Would you like offense or defense? Because I'm kind of tossed up on.
You guys can pick it. The only one person was banned, and that was Solana from picking Devon Achane because he took him last week. You can take Achane if you want.
Understood.
No, definitely not him. I think Devon Achane finds the bench a lot today. I'll go defense today. I get Jack Jones. Baker Mayfield slings that biscuit all over the place. He gets a little willy-nilly with the ball sometimes. Cornerbacks might be able to jump a route. So let's go Jack Jones. Jack Jones gets the game ball for a big interception in the game. Not saying big to win it, but I'm just saying big interception for him.
I think so. You see an organic tank like throttle it back a little bit on Devon Achane for the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. You're going to get a whole lot of Jalen Wright. You just heard it from Omar.
It's fair. I mean, maybe they do get to a point if it gets out of hand. They were just like that. I don't know if we'll get that in the early go. Plus, it doesn't matter sometimes. He'll make one guy miss and still go for 50. Like, that's the thing that's been incredible.
But can you see this getting out of hand? Like, you see this game where the Buccaneers just kind of roll the Dolphins? I don't think the Bucs, again, like we were talking about it earlier, I just don't see the Bucs as being like this dominant team where they're going to rout the Dolphins today. I think they're the better team. Don't get me wrong, and there's stakes for them. They're playing for something, so they're a 5-point favorite for a reason.
Yeah.
But to rout this team to the point where you're down 3-4 touchdowns and you're benching Devon Achane, I don't know. I don't see it playing out that way.
I would like to get Todd Bowles to the point where he's cursing again because I like cursing Todd Bowles.
Yeah,
he was my favorite. That was my favorite character of the NFL season so far. I was like, whoa! I didn't know Todd Bowles got above the pulse of a caterpillar. Usually he's just like, and then he's just like laying F-bomb after F-bomb. I'm like, whoa. So I would like to see that. It would be I mean, are we really going to live in a world where the Panthers are making the playoffs? This is and winning the division. This is crazy, but I mean, they've really yacked this one up. So I'm with you. Like, it doesn't feel like that much. It should be that much of a mismatch. But then again, the Dolphins, I mean, they've had some pretty colossal meltdowns this year, dude. Like, you think about the Browns game, the Ravens game last week, even the Steelers start, like the Dolphins, when it goes bad for the Dolphins, it goes bad. So it doesn't feel like they would just lose normal. Again, like, even if the Dolphins were to lose normal, I think that would show well for Mike McDaniel. He'd be like, all right, you probably lost to a better team, tip of the cap. But if they have another one of these, unless there is a wink tank job going on here that we're unaware of, but if we're just talking a straight up game and the Dolphins do get throttled, I just think that's such a bad look for Mike. I think that would be such a bad look. That being said, if I'm going to predict the game ball, I am going to go with Jalen Waddle I think they should feed him the ball a lot today, because just a little too much weasel for my liking last week with Theo Weiss. So I feel like that's the prudent thing to do, and hopefully we can get him on the board, and maybe he'll even cross the 1,000-yard mark this season and get some people off of his back. For the rest of the slate here, Solana, what do we got of stakes? Okay, so Steelers-Browns is actually a massive game because the Steelers can clinch if they win. Will you be tuned into that on a secondary? Well, I know you got to work, but theoretically, if you didn't have to work, would you be tuned into that secondarily?
Yeah, I think I would be. Steelers, they can clinch it. Next week wouldn't necessarily matter for them in terms of like needing to win to get into the playoffs. And you know, weird things happen in divisional games. You know what I mean? Like, especially in that division, weird things happen. It's in Cleveland. I haven't looked at the weather. I imagine it's not the best weather right now in Cleveland. So I can see
it says it looks like it's rainy, but like 47-ish. So it's gonna be mucky. Like, I don't think it's gonna be it doesn't look like it's gonna be snowy or anything like that, but it's gonna be like ugly out there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like, could you see the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers just kind of having like a setback after a couple weeks where they've put together some solid performances?
They kind of feel like they're finding their stride a little bit. I feel like they should put the hammer on Cleveland and then, you know, put the Baltimore stuff behind it. If they don't, I mean, we got a monster next week with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I don't know what Lamar's status, if he's able to bounce back from this latest injury or not. But you got that. You got Jacksonville and Indy. Indy's out of it. Jacksonville's trying to fend off Houston, who's surging. They're very close in every which way with conference record, division record. So obviously a game they need. Old man Rivers showed himself well on Monday Night Football, but you know, they have completely collapsed. Patriots are trying to cinch up the AFC East. They take on the Jets today. Jets are obviously trying to tank as hard as they possibly can. Seahawks Panthers is somehow a monster game. I mean, that's crazy to me too. So and then we got Bills and Eagles. Bills hosting the Eagles at 4:25 today. And that one I saw today, they were talking about like it's really freezing there. They had to like protect the field from ice and heaters to try and keep it playable. But that one's to keep it out, and it's probably going to be really gnarly in Buffalo today.
The only games next week that could potentially be win and in scenarios would be if Tampa wins today and then they host the Panthers next week. Winner gets the division, winner's in, and then if the Steelers lose, right? Like, other than that, the playoff spots are pretty much done because there's the Packers are in, the Rams are in, and the Niners are in. I guess theoretically, the Niners could still contend with Seattle to win that division because Seattle's 12-3 and the Niners are 11-4. It's crazy that the Rams are the third place in that division and they're the Super Bowl favorites. Like, that is still mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think that everybody's in except for potential sneaky division. So either the only teams that are out that could be in are Tampa and Baltimore. Everybody, all the other teams are pretty much established. There are a couple of the divisions that could be cinched, but they'll be in anyway. But those are the only ones that can like play their way in. are those two, but they need help, and they are behind it already. So we got to keep an eye on that. But it's going to be
and the Dolphins could theoretically play spoiler next week from the standpoint of keeping New England from the number 1 overall seed.
Right.
That's what we'll be talking about next week if New England wins today.
But I think every Dolphin fan doesn't really, because they want to have as high a pick as possible, and they're tired of the nonsense. So
right.
They don't want to play spoiler. They'd rather they've already had it spoiled.
It's done.
So they're ready to just pack it up and move on.
Yeah.
And in some local sports news, Matthew Tkachuk is practicing today with the Panthers.
Is he really?
He is.
Wow.
The Panthers star. They lost yesterday to Tampa Bay, but the Panthers starting to get Matthew Tkachuk on the mend. He was in a non-contact jersey today. It's always been said after Christmas was going to be dessert. The thing everybody's been saying is he's going to make the return for the Winter Classic on Friday. So
that would be effing awesome if he was out there.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. By the way, if anybody hasn't checked out the road to the Winter Classic on I think it's on Max, I think is where you can watch it. I binged a couple episodes of that. That's really good. It's a really good show. NHL does a good job of those shows. If you guys like behind the scenes sports shows, Hard Knocks, if you will, these are a little bit more unfiltered because hockey's cooler. So,
Are you going finally on Friday or no?
To the Winter Classic?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I'll watch it, but I don't think I'm going to go. I'm going to Heat tomorrow. I'm going to go check out. Hopefully, we won't get hammered by the Joker.
See if Bam plays or not. Doesn't look good.
Doesn't look good. But Jovic with the sleeve, had the back.
Yeah, that was fun. I was thinking of you yesterday. That was fun.
Oh, I'm so nervous with every shot because I get so much heat on Twitter every time he stinks.
Oh, you've been getting a lot of heat then this year.
Oh, dude, it's not fun. It's ruined it for me. So I need him to be all the way back. All right, that's our show, everybody. Enjoy the games today. You got Dan Day coming your way with the post-game edition of Gameday Uncensored today at 4 p.m. So be tuned in for that. Only place that's going to take your calls live and get your reaction to this Dolphins season will be with Dan today at 4. We appreciate Omar. We appreciate Perk for tuning in and calling in. And we appreciate all of you for sticking with us. And we will talk to you guys next week. We don't know which day yet. So we'll, whatever the schedule shakes out, but we will talk to you guys next time.
And there you go. We've wrapped up another Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Kickoff is coming up. Dolphins, Bucks. We'll be back after the game